yards up the road, he plays the guitar and he can teach. He's also a teacher. And so I would go to him, but it just, I just could see right away that was not meant for me.
Was there a lot of, like, when you were a child in Austria, was there a lot of like individualism, or were things very like regimented? Like in America, you can be an individual, right? But some countries it's a little bit harder to kind of like, be an individual and have a voice. I'm just wondering, what was it like there when you were young? Did it feel like things were regimented, or it was okay to be rebellious? What was it like there?
Well, I was rebellious in a way because, think about it, soccer and track and field, they were kind of like the in sports. But when I was exposed to weightlifting and to powerlifting and to bodybuilding, I fell in love with that. And also because my heroes like Reg Park and Steve Reeves, they were doing Hercules movies, and I just started looking at those movies, right? And so I said to myself, I want to be like that. I don't want to be a top soccer player. I want to be like that. I want to have the muscles like that, and I want to get into movies like that. So that always then became my dream.
So you really wanted to be like this?
Yeah. So I was fixated. I was like kind of like concentrating that I kind of put visually my head on Reg Park's body, and I said to myself, there was a famous picture where he won the Mr. Universe contest in London in 1951. And when I saw that picture, it was like him holding the trophy and flexing his bicep.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, can you imagine if this is me? I'm going to make this me. And so that's what I was training for. So my parents thought that it was kind of like, what is that all about? Where did that come from? And the whole neighborhood was kind of like wondering, what is this guy doing, training every day, 2 hours, 3 hours a day? I came home, and instead of having lunch, I would put my sit-up board up on the kitchen table, and I would be doing sit-ups, 500 sit-ups during lunch.
So you were addicted to,
totally addicted, because I was driven by my vision. So it was always there.
Yeah.
Even when I was in school, I would sometimes just wander off when the teacher was teaching out there and writing up something on the blackboard, and I would be looking at that, and then all of a sudden he could see that I was just kind of like staring off.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he threw a chalk at my head, and I would bang. And I looked back again. He says, Arnold, I'm up here. I know you're looking at the beautiful trees out there. They're more beautiful maybe than me, but you got to listen to what I'm saying here. So I noticed I was always kind of drifting off and
daydreaming,
visualizing my dreams. Always visualizing my dreams. Being on that stage in the Mr. Universe contest, doing maybe Hercules movies, going to America, and all of that. So it was very different. So that was not the norm. So I did step out of the norm, and because everyone else was talking about, I'm going to go and get a job with the government because I want to make sure that I collect my pension when I was 65 and all this. I had no interest in any of that pension. What are we talking about now? The age of 18, we start talking about pensions. It's crazy, right? But that's the European way. Everyone looks for stability, especially in those times where government was really ruling. So then that's also, I think, an explanation of why when I came over here to America in 1968 and I saw Hubert Humphrey and Nixon campaigning.
Hubert Humphrey, who is Hubert
He was
Humphrey?
the vice president under Johnson.
Okay.
And so he was campaigning
after Kennedy?
to become, Johnson was after Kennedy. Then Hubert Humphrey was his vice president. So he was running for president.
Oh, yeah.
And so was
Looks
Nixon.
like he eats gumdrops, that guy.
And so it was really interesting when I listened to the debates, and I didn't understand maybe 3/4 of it. But I had a friend that spoke German, and he translated for me. And when I heard of what Nixon said, it was so opposite of what I grew up with, which I didn't like, where government was kind of in charge of everything.
In Austria?
In Austria, yeah, exactly. And so it was in Germany and in all those countries over there in Europe. Socialism was the system that I grew up in. So when Nixon spoke, I felt like, wow, get government off your back.
Get the government off your back.
Great. Wow. And lowering lowering the taxes, strong military, strong police force, strong this, strong that, strong economy. Let the people be free. Let them shop all around the world, and blah, blah, blah. And I said to myself, this is like unbelievable. And then when Humphrey spoke, it was like I was back in Austria. So then I said to myself, what are the parties here? Because I didn't understand really the parties yet.
Why? What was it about Humphreys that made it feel like you were back in Austria?
Well, I said government is the solution.
Oh, I see. So he was more like the cage.
We all know that the government is not the solution. I mean, it's like the free enterprise, the economy and all this. You got to let people be free and not be controlled by government. Government is good, but you have to find kind of the middle ground of all this stuff.
Yeah, you can't. If you rely solely on the government for your life, then you'll just be a part of the government, basically.
Well, and you become a vegetable.
Yeah,
because they create the safety net, then you don't have the will to really kind of make it on your own. So what the big advantage of coming to America was that there was no safety net. So I was on my own.
Yeah.
So I had to get really creative. Okay, how can I go to school and educate myself? How can I go and get more English classes? How can I go to Santa Monica City College and at the same time work? And at the same time train 5 hours a day and do all of those kind of things. So but it was up to me now to be successful, not up to the government.
Oh, I like that.
So government was providing the opportunities and all this, the structure, but that is what I enjoyed. And so this is why I became kind of like a Nixon Republican. And people always were kind of like, especially in California, which is a much more liberal
how
state.
Could you be a Republican?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. Nixon, of course, came from California.
Question, Arnold.
Yeah.
Was it scary to tell your parents that, to leave Austria? Did people do that at the time? I'm just a little bit curious on what it was like to say, I'm leaving here and I'm going to go to America. Was it even a popular path for people to go?
Well, remember, I started saying this when I was 10.
Ah, I see. So it had been, your parents knew it was in your head.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw a documentary, a black and white documentary in the school. They showed always those films with this 8 millimeters, whatever, films on the little screen. And like I said, television was not the common thing at that time in Austria, so we didn't grow up with that. And but they showed the film, and I saw a documentary about America.
Yeah.
Now I see the Empire State Building. I said, wait a minute. This building is like, 100 times taller than any of the buildings in Graz, where I grew up, right, in Austria. And then I saw the Golden Gate Bridge. Then I saw the Pacific Coast Highway. I saw all of this kind of, great things. I saw the 6-lane highways. I saw the big Cadillacs, with the big fins sticking out, And
The
so I said to
ladies,
myself,
too.
and then we had all these little kind of cars, and then Muscle Beach and all of this stuff that did Hollywood. I said to myself, I got to go to America. I got to go to America. Austria is not the place. It was almost kind of like that my gene was over here. So it kind of, I gravitated towards America. Not that I hated Austria, but I just wanted to leave and go do something different. So my parents always saw me as being different. So it was not a surprise to them that I wanted to go as soon as I was through with high school and trade school, that I wanted to go into the military. So I went into the military because after you go and serve in the military, then you can get your passport and you can travel.
So you had to go to the military to get your passport in Austria?
That's right, yeah.
Is it still that way?
No, I don't think it's different now. Everything is different because everything has changed.
Yeah. And you had a brother as well, right? Did he go to the military?
He was in the military, and
was he older than you or younger?
He was a year older.
Oh, cool. What's his name?
He was a year Meinhardt.
Meinhardt,
yeah, exactly. So he was a year earlier, but he passed away, as you know.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, at very young, at the age of 24.
Oh, I didn't know
he
that.
Passed away. It was like a drunk.
That's
driver.
him right there.
Yeah. No, this is a Franz Dischinger. He was my training partner in Munich. So when I went first. So after the army, the Austrian army, I immediately left to go to Munich because I got an offer. Because now at that meantime, I became the European champion in bodybuilding in the junior division.
Okay, so you go to the military.
So I became this. While I was in the military, I won this title, best built man of Europe, junior.
God.
I was 18 years old.
Oh,
so
God.
now I got this offer
nice.
in Munich, it's the biggest gym, to go and become a trainer. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to serve out my term here, get out of here a year later, and then I go to Munich and I become a trainer there. Now then, I can train anytime, 24 hours a day, because I actually lived in the gym. So I could get up literally, if I wake up at 3 a.m. and, I can, let's say, I can fall back to sleep, I go out to the gym.
How did you live in there? Like where? They just had a bed in the side or something?
Exactly. It was a little room. There was from here to there where you would sit, and a bed, and just a little kind of a thing with a cabinet with drawers where I put my stuff in. That was it. And then I walked out of it. It used to be an office there for the gym, and I just moved in there because I had no money.
And you were like, this is what I do all the time anyway. This is like...
Yeah, so I was in heaven.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean, I went out there, turned on the lights, and I was posing with all the overhead lights. Notice I was posing in the mirror all the time. At night, I would wake up and I would go out there posing and stuff like that. So I was like, very intense.
Yeah.
And very passionate about bodybuilding and perfecting my body and going to London to that very same contest that Reg Park won, the Mr. Universe. And that very same year when I went now to Munich in 1966, I became now Mr. Europe, literally 2 months later. And then Best Buildman of Europe. And then I went to the Mr. Universe contest at the age of 19. Oh. I was the youngest competitor, and I came second.
And where was that held at?
It was in London, the same stage as Reg Park.
So you still hadn't made it to the U.S. yet?
No, not yet. No.
And was your brother also lifting weights? Was he a weightlifter?
No, he was not interested in that. He was much more, I think, academic, I would say, because he read a lot and he studied a lot. He was really good in school. I was not that good in school.
Yeah.
I was just so.
Did you guys get along pretty well? Is that him or no?
That's him. Yeah, that's Meinhard.
Oh, that's a cool.
Yeah.
And what is Meinhard?
Yeah, Meinhard. Yeah.
I just wonder what it would be like because I have a brother too. So I'm just thinking sometimes like it would be. I just think about my brother a lot. So I guess I was just curious what it was like, what your brother was like.
Well, he was different than me, but we did hang out together. He did come to the gym every so often, and he worked out with me, but he was not into it.
He wasn't passionate.
He had a better body than I had, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a really V-shaped body, he had wide shoulders, a very, very small waist.
God, they always give it to the person that doesn't want it.
I know.
Yeah, we had a guy like that.
But that's, I think, what is interesting about it is that you struggle much more in the beginning and to catch up, and then all of a sudden, you see your own potential.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't see it in the beginning. But then, I mean, I think it was like going to the gym was my first time where I got compliments. Because my parents were not into that.
Was
it
it
was
popular?
The Austrian kind of upbringing, kind of everything, they correct everything. Yeah? The grades are no good. And the soccer, why didn't you kick the ball? You were like 10 yards away from the goal. You didn't kick it in. You tripped over the ball. I mean, coming out. It was always some kind of a
always
complaint.
trying to correct you.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, it was always a complaint, and then if you made a mistake, you get smacked and stuff like that. So it was that kind of upbringing. But it was very helpful to me because it actually gave me the motivation to leave Austria.
And it gave you control. I mean, if you're bodybuilding, it's just you against you. You don't have to depend on anybody else. I mean, I guess you have to depend on the judges when you go to actually compete, but day to day, it is you against your own emotions and mentality and ability.
Yes, but also at the same time, even though it is a sport that you are on your own, but in the end, you still rely on your training partners. I was very fortunate always that I had the mentality of being able to attract the best training partners. So I had guys that were as hungry as I was, because that's the important thing. If you have someone that is not as hungry, then it doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
But if you have someone that competes with you, that counts out the reps, then he wants to do an extra 2 reps more than you do, and you get up the weight and all this stuff. So I always had good training partners. So I'm a big believer in that we really can't, in the end, do anything by ourselves, right? That's why I always say, don't call me a self-made man, because I'm a product of a lot of help. If it is in bodybuilding, or just, think about Joe Weider. After winning 2 Mr. Universe titles in London, the amateur Mr. Universe, the following year, 1968, the professional Mr. Universe. So I was like the youngest Mr. Universe ever.
And that was the year after you got second?
That's right.
Okay.
1966.
And you were 20 years
second. 1967, I was 20 years old.
Wow.
And I wanted to become the youngest Mr. Universe. So now I'm done that stage, exactly where Reg Park was, and win the Mr. Universe. And not only that, but the Reg Park immediately sent me a fax. And to London. He said, I want to invite you to South Africa to give posing exhibitions and do strongman act down there. So I was invited by Reg Park, which eventually by end of the year, I went down to South Africa.
And you still hadn't gone to the U.S. yet?
I haven't gone to the U.S. What brought me to the U.S. which was kind of my dream, someone would notice me in bodybuilding, that they would take me to, because bodybuilding was an American sport.
Oh, it was?
Not a European sport. It was an American sport, really. And so I all of a sudden get this invitation from Joe Weider, who was the publisher of the muscle magazines. He published like 4 big muscle magazines, Flex and Strength and Health, we
used to get some of them, I think, when I was a kid.
And
we didn't use
fitness, them. All of this, and he had also an equipment company, the food supplement company.
Because it's weights, right? I've seen the weights before.
It's weights, it's the food supplements, and his brother was the head of the organization, the Bodybuilding Federation.
Got it. And this is when you came to the U.S.?
Yeah, so he brought me over in 1968.
Okay, before we get there, Arnold, and not to interrupt you or anything, but you did a show, you went to like one of the first interracial shows that was in South Africa?
That was later on.
Oh, that was later on. Okay.
So that was 1975.
Got it. Okay, so
you're absolutely correct.
So you get to the U.S.
Very good research.
Do you remember your first, thank you. Yeah. Do you remember your first day in America?
Oh, yes. It was in Miami. I went to Miami and I was competing there in a competition. And then after that, I came out to California and I was picked up in California at the airport by a bodybuilding photographer by the name of Adi Zeller and Dick Tyler, who wrote for the muscle magazines. They picked me up and took me to an apartment that Joe Weider rented for me. And it was fantastic. I mean, from then on, I got all the help in the world now, because that's when I really realized the generosity of the American people.
Wow.
I mean, they gave me, the bodybuilders, there was Thanksgiving came up after that. Because I came over here in October, November was Thanksgiving. So there was like this whole thing about, giving me pillows and giving me blankets and giving me dishes and silverware.
Where were you, homeless or something?
But say again.
Why were they giving you all that?
Well, because
just to make you feel welcome.
When you move into an apartment, what do you get? I mean, it was a furnished apartment.
And you were living in LA at that point?
It was in the valley, over there in the valley. Yeah. And then all these bodybuilders came to me and they brought me all this stuff. It was like unbelievable. So I could not even believe how generous they were. And this were a lot of times people that didn't know me at all. But just because bodybuilding and joining a club, you become kind of part of that family. And so they were very, very sweet and kind. And I would never forget that. That's actually what made me then think about, well, when I ever make it, I will give that back. I will help other people myself,
What's it like finding a gym that really fits you? Like, what's that like at that level of bodybuilding? Were there a couple gyms you tried out and you're like, this isn't it? Or did you already know where you wanted to be?
I came over here, there was a gym called Vince's Gym that had all the champions training.
Where was that located?
It was over in the valley, on Ventura Boulevard in North Hollywood. And a very, very famous gym. This is where, Larry Scott, Mr. Olympia trained, and Don Howard, who was Mr. America, and Don Peterson, all those guys were training there. And then I ventured over here every so often for powerlifting. There was a gym called Gold's Gym. Not many bodybuilders trained there, some, but not many. Most of them were like shot putters and powerlifters and weightlifters and so on. And it was a much more rough gym. But somehow, because of the Austrian gym where I kind of started the first 3 years in this weightlifting club, it reminded me of that. So I started getting more and more attracted to that gym. And then I moved from the valley over here.
To Venice.
To Venice. And I was still part of Santa Monica, actually. It was, Ashland, one of the streets not far away from here. And then I went daily training there. And then Gold's Gym, then other bodybuilders came from all over the country to train there too.
Because you were there?
I was there, and Joe Weider now started writing in his magazines about Arnold is training in Gold's Gym. And, if you want to go and train in a great place, this is the place to go.
Was it hard for you to train? I mean, were people at that point just standing around watching you train?
No, because there was a lot of, this place was filled with great bodybuilders.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then others came out here from Florida and from Kentucky and from New York, And they all started joining Gold's Gym and started training there. So this was kind of like the place that had the best bodybuilders in the world training in Gold's. That's how Gold's Gym became famous. Because it was a little gym. It was not big. It was 3,000 square feet, I think it was.
Well, I remember when I first moved to Los Angeles, we went to Firehouse. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Yeah, Firehouse.
Was that the place? It was a big protein place. It was like was that, I think it was.
Well, Firehouse now is a restaurant down there.
It used to be like a place where you could get literally like a bowl of chicken.
Yeah, you still can get there. You can get great scrambled eggs.
You can get like 30 eggs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's crazy. It was like,
yeah.
I remember I ordered like a month worth of food right there just at lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me like 5 hours to get out of there just because I didn't want to like.
Yeah, I was never a big eater. So to me, that meant nothing. If I had a little steak and 2 scrambled eggs, I was perfectly fine. I was full.
For the day?
Not for the day, no. But let's say in the morning, steak and eggs or scrambled eggs or something like this. I always had to take protein drinks in between meals because I could never eat enough to get my 250 grams of protein because I weighed 250 pounds. And the idea then was that for every kind of pound of body weight you have, you should have 1 gram of protein.
Yeah. Because I don't know if I used to bodybuild. I used to use steroids when I was like growing up and just lift weights a lot. I loved it for years, And I think whenever I get whenever I quit working as much, I'll probably try to get back more into weightlifting. Was steroids pretty popular then, or what was it like? Was that part of because I'm sure it was part of the culture.
No, it was not yet. But it was something that was in the beginning very experimental.
So would you hear it? Like, would it be like on the black market, or it was just like public? It was just like people would talk about it like as a supplement.
It might be in some.
Everyone
got lit. They were drunk. They were celebrating that someone would come in and give them the respect and do something special for them. So very appreciative, right? So I would go in there, and I was in the cage.
Into the Sowetos? Is that what it's called? Can you bring that up for me, Nick?
Yeah, the townships, they're all over the place. They're in every town in South Africa, there is townships like that. There's places where the blacks would live, right? And they're very, very kind of low.
I think they're called the Sowetos.
Yeah,
Are they or not?
That's one of them.
Yeah, Sowetos. Yeah, I think so.
So in any case, so I would go in there and do a demonstration and do my posing and lift weights and all of this kind of stuff.
In these small like townships?
There was like, thousands of them surrounding and then just screaming loud and having the greatest time. And then we would go out.
Oh, they would put you on the grill. I'm surprised. I bet they were so hungry. Sometimes they would be like, look at this well-fed guy.
It was fantastic, the reception and everything. So, but the reason I'm mentioning that is because it led to the conversation with, that minister of sports. He said to me, he says, we should have an international competition here in South Africa. He says, we should work together on that. And I said, okay, we will. And his name was Dr. Kornhoff. Dr. Kornhoff. And he was an extraordinary man, very, very smart. But it just shows you that there was people like him that already wanted to do more for the blacks and to elevate them.
Yeah, create.
So he then, I set him up with Ben Weider, with Joe Weider's brother, who was the head of the International Federation of Bodybuilding. They got together and they hit it off really well. And so Joe Weider and Ben Weider worked with him to bring the Mr. Olympia contest to South Africa, to Pretoria, the capital of South Africa.
Yeah.
But the conditions were that they were able to have a mixed audience.
Okay, so black and white audience. Have they done that ever?
Never.
Wow.
So there was the first time. There was blacks, but there was not just black and white in South Africa. There was a group that was called blacks. There was a group that was called colored. There was a group that was called Indians. There was a group that was white. There was like 5 different Asians. So everyone was different. So everyone,
a lot of variety.
It was kind of like, it was not considered we are all equal there, right? And so what Ben negotiated was that we have a mixed audience, that anyone, no matter what their nationality and what their kind of color is, or religious beliefs, or whatever, anyone should be able to come to this competition.
Wow.
And also, not only that, but to be a judge. We will have also half black and half white judges and blah, blah, blah.
So was that scary to go before a black judge? Did you think that they would judge you fairly? I would be.
No, not at all, because they were not. I mean, I was competing in America at that time
you were
already.
Used to it.
And I was used to it. There was Leroy Colbert, who was the first guy with a 21, 22-inch arms, big bodybuilder from the 50s and 60s. And he was a judge in New York several times. And he was a totally honest judge. There was other black judges that's the great thing about bodybuilding. In bodybuilding, there was no prejudice. There were some people in bodybuilding that were prejudiced.
Right.
But in general, like especially under the Weeders, I think because they were Jewish.
Bring them up, Ben Weeder?
I think it had something to do with the fact that they were that kind of open-minded about it.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times they're the leaders.
Joe Weeder, exactly.
They're like the leaders in promoting diversity and diversifying
That's
things,
right. Yes,
for
so there was
sure.
no prejudice.
Have been.
There was no prejudice there at all. And as a matter of fact, there was a guy by the name of Bob Hoffman. He always made sure that when they had the AAU had their Mr. America competition, only whites could win. No black could win there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was really embarrassing.
So there were some barriers within the...
There was guys like Sergio Liver that would be competing in 1966 or 1965 in the Mr. America, and he would get beaten by white guys. And it was totally unfair. Or Harold Poole got beaten in 1963 by Vern Weaver, which I thought was unfair. So there was this. So what they did then was, because there was now two federations. There was the IFBB, there was the AAU and NABA. So
AEU?
AAU, exactly,
AAU.
American Athletic Union. Yeah. And so they then went from that federation over to the IFBB, and there Sergio Liver won immediately.
Got it.
He became Mr. America, he became Mr. World, then Mr. Universe, then Mr. Olympia. And he actually, in the first Mr. Olympia competition, Sergio Liver beat me.
Wow.
1969, fairly. I mean, there was no complaints there at all because he was extraordinary, right? And so then in 1970, I came back and I beat him in the Mr. World competition in Columbus, Ohio. And then 2 weeks later in the Mr. Olympia in New York. So we were big rivals. And I was, of course, a big admirer of his and a big idol. And he treated me really well. We went to Chicago and trained together at the Duncan YMCA and all that stuff. I wanted to learn from him.
I love the YMCA, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's great.
I've always been a fan of the YMCA.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like they're always a little bit like it's never perfect there, but everything's kind of like a little bit old enough where I like the equipment. It's never too fancy.
Yeah, but you can get the job done.
Right.
So to me, it's not about the luxury. It's just much more about the will to succeed. And when I see pictures online of bodybuilders that are training in the sand in Africa right now, blacks, that are having cement weights on a bar.
God.
And a cheap bench. And when they do their bench press.
Yeah.
And the other day I saw one of those kind of videos, and they get up from the bench. I'm looking at it and I said, this guy could win Mr. America.
Wow.
Or win Mr. California or something like that. He looks extraordinary. So it's really not the technology so much. It helps you, but I mean, on the end, it is really what you have to work on is the will to succeed.
The will was the best. There's nothing better than just having like a little weight bench outside in your backyard or something, and you go out there or in your garage, and it's just.
I did my deadlifts right in front of the house in Graz, in Thal, which now is a museum, at the house where I grew up in.
Your home is a museum where you grew up?
The home, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go over there in 2 weeks. So we have our pump club is meeting there with the European bodybuilders, members from the pump club, and then there's some Americans that are also coming over there.
That audience in South Africa, did it have the feeling during the show of like, this is like a novel thing? This is was there that energy in the event?
There was so much energy in that auditorium. And it was not a big auditorium. It maybe held, I would say, 1,500 people, I would guess. And the energy was fantastic. The joy of being together was fantastic. And I really think that had a tremendous impact also on the future of South Africa. And it was just wonderful that there were leaders there that believed in that and wanted to organize that. And everyone, the police and everyone was really cooperative. Everyone worked together, so it was a fantastic show, a fantastic competition. And of course I won, so it's always a fantastic competition, when you win as your sixth Mr. Olympia. But what was interesting about it was I got $1,000 cash prize. And I was really upset about that because I felt like, well, wait a minute. In 1965, 10 years ago, Larry Scott, when he won Mr. Olympia, got $1,000. And now, 10 years later, we still get $1,000. So that's what made me actually motivated to go then in front of the IFBB, the International Bodybuilding Congress, and to ask them for permission to organize the next year's Mr. Olympia in Columbus, Ohio. And that's exactly what we did. I got the permission, and then we upped the cash prize to $5,000, then to $10,000, to $20,000. We doubled it every year, and now we're giving over $1 million away for cash prizes for the Arnold Classic.
What's like one of the things right before you go on? Because I'm guessing you're backstage, right? You wait to go on, and they call your name out, and then you go out and do your poses. Is that how it goes?
Well, it's in those days, the way it worked was the whole lineup of all the competitors. Now, you have to understand, Mr. Olympia means that you have to have won a world championship title before. So Mr. World, Mr. International, or Mr. Universe. So those guys are the top guys. So you have like 6 or 7 guys that are on the stage. And so the judges, they ask you to all to come out. You have a certain time at 1 o'clock, be ready for pre-judging. And then you come out and then you stand there. And then the judges will shuffle you around. And they says, okay, can number 7 go over where number 1 is? And the number 1 goes over where number 7 was. They just see them next to each other, different people next to each other. Then they say, turn around, turn sideways.
What's the scariest way to be turned? Like, was there ever a part where you're like, I got to kind of cheat this angle a little bit?
No, I mean, for me, it was basically always a tremendous joy to be up on stage because it's one of those things where you feel like when you're really ready. I always felt kind of like, in most cases, that I was so ready that no matter what angle it was, I was ready to go, and I had always a smile on my face, and I flexed everything. And the key thing is that you have practiced your posing enough that you can stand there in a flex position. It looks relaxed. You stand there like this, but you still flex.
Right.
You keep the stomach in, and you keep the abs flexed, and the calves flexed, and the biceps and the triceps flexed. So that was the idea, and I was always having great joy with that.
So it's a lot of acting, too. It's kind of some acting up there.
It is one of the great forms of acting. Why? Because you cannot go and say to the judge, look at me. I'm the most perfect up here. Look at my abs. No, you have to do all that without talking. You have to communicate with them and also with the audience. Because remember that the sound of the audience is very important because you want to get big applause. So the judge say, oh, this guy got the most applause. I mean, he definitely, has the best body. So, but then you wait for the individual posing. So then you come out one after the next, you do a 3-minute posing routine.
And what's the tricks there? Is there any trick of the trade, a last minute thing you used? You would like pinch your tits or just rub some like molasses into your lip? Like, what was like a last minute thing people would do? Put ice under your arms or something?
No, I think the key thing is just that when you go there, that you're so ready that you don't shake. You know how many bodybuilders, I'm sure you've seen it, they hit a shot and then they after a few seconds they start shaking.
Oh, so that's bad.
For that level, I mean, it's natural when you have a Mr. Venice Beach competition, or Mr. Muscle Beach.
Or Mr. Montgomery, Alabama, yeah.
Beginners, of course, they make mistakes and they're not as well trained. But when you get to the Mr. Olympia level, it's unacceptable.
So you want to make it look, so that you want to control
hit the
shot.
Shake. Yeah. And you smile. You look at the judges, and you smile, and then you smoothly move into the next shot. Pow, bang. And then it hands and just the movement. It has to be all very gracefully and no shaking, so that again that you say to the judges, "Look, I am so ready for this." Unlike maybe the others, So that's what it is. So it's all about the 7 P's. The 7 P's, proper, prior, planning, prevent, pissed, poor performance. Right? And the Marines, they have that. And
Proper prior planning prevents piss poor
performance. Exactly. So that's what it's about. It's the same there. You come prepared. You make sure that you worked. Everyone has weak points. So you have to make sure that you worked as much on your weak points so that the judges see that you're not blind, that you noticed that last year you maybe had not so defined legs. Yes, maybe you won, but the legs were so-so. And then the next year when you come back, you have to have ripped legs.
Right.
Right? So then the judge said, that guy got the message. So this is what it's all about. Because in the end, you really are an artist. You're a sculptor. You're not just the athlete that is competing, but you're the sculptor.
But you're your clay too.
Sculpting on your own body instead of a chisel and a hammer that you kind of sculpt a physique. You do it now with machines and with the reps and the different exercises where you say, I need a little bit more of the rear deltoids. I need a little bit more separation in the front between the deltoid and the pectoral muscle. I need a little bit more cut on the lower abs. I need the calves have to be balanced. They're not big enough for the arms because it should be the same size as your arms are. And all of those kind of things. So you become kind of like an artist in your own body. That's what the idea is.
Did you ever like have to work out the top of your feet or your hand? Were there things you could do for your face even and stuff like that?
No. I mean, there are people that pay attention to that. I didn't.
Right.
To me, it's always about the bottom line.
Yeah.
So about what is it that we're doing here? What we're doing here is we are showing the most perfect physique and who is the best in actually displaying that physique. Because it's all about, presentation, presentation. It's like a piece of art. You can have a painting that is maybe amongst many other paintings and you wouldn't even notice it's a Picasso. But then when you put it up there on a white wall and with a beautiful gold frame, with the special lighting, and then you have someone talk about it, now you can auction something off for a lot of money. Right? So it's all about presentation. And so this is why I think the same is also in bodybuilding, and the way you present your body, the way you present your muscles.
And at that point, I mean, I can see now how even like lobbying for certain things to be changing in, like in the prize money, right? I can almost see where your direction comes to even end up in politics, right? You can start to see it like, well, this should be more. There should be some adjustments. You weren't just like a competitor. You were also somebody who was examining how things were run and how they could be better, especially when you were partnering with guys like Ben Wider and stuff like that, and probably inspired by those guys to probably get this larger vision of things that were going on. Did you, when you got into film, so at that point, you know how to act, you know how to impress the front row, you know how to use probably every element of your body to impress people. So that kind of just leads kind of perfectly into acting.
Yeah, but remember that what is key and all of this stuff is also personality. And I don't know if you can train a personality or not. I mean, I don't know what you think about that. But I mean, I think some people just don't have the greatest personality.
Oh yeah, some people are boring.
Some people have a great personality.
Yeah,
and so I think that I developed over the years. Not that someone taught me that, but I developed a personality because my joy for whatever I did came through. So when people talked to me about bodybuilding in those days, I was not shy of the press. Other bodybuilders for decades didn't talk to the press. So when I came over here, people thought that when they saw my body, they thought it was a football player or was a wrestler or something like that. But the last thing they guessed was a bodybuilder. So they didn't know about bodybuilding. So in 1974, I was the first bodybuilder to hire a publicist. And so we went and did talk shows, the Johnny Carson show, Merv Griffin show, Mike Douglas show, and all of those shows.
And were there football teams that tried to get you to come and play for them? Did you ever get an offer?
No, because I think I made it very clear in my interviews that my vision is to be the greatest bodybuilder of all times and to go then into acting. So even when people came to me, because I was always very good in business, I studied business, I got my degree in business while I was over here and doing the training for bodybuilding.
At SMC?
Say again?
Did you go to SMC?
I went to Santa Monica City College, to UCLA, and to, got my degree in business, and it was like in business administration. And I was just naturally always gifted for making deals and being creative.
Got it.
You know, and I always understood how it works.
Right.
And so in bodybuilding, for instance, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to up the cash price to $20,000. Let's say from like within a 3-year period, we give away $20,000 in the beginning. But then you have to say, okay, where do we get this money from? Sponsors.
Right.
So now I have to go out and hustle the sponsors. And so now, of course, we have the biggest bodybuilding and fitness convention in Columbus, Ohio, in the world. We have 200,000 people coming through there in 3 days. We have every company displaying their products there, their machines, their food supplements, clothing.
At the Arnold, it's called?
The Arnold Classic.
Arnold Classic.
Yeah, it's always the first week in March. And it's 3 days, the whole thing. So, and now, like I said, now we're raising enough money where we can give away over $1 million. As a matter of fact, this coming year, we're going to go in up to $1.5 million. So it's like, so it's all kinds of great things happening. But I was able to build it to that.
Right.
Because I have a business mind.
Right.
And I know exactly how that works and how do we attract everyone and bring everyone together.
Were there women weightlifting at that time or no?
You were the first Miss Olympia competition was a guy by the name of Schneider he was from back east from the Philadelphia area. And we did that together.
Oh, you guys started it?
Yeah, well, yes, because the women were all kind of complaining, why can't we compete? So we did a little, we called it Miss Olympia. And because the International Federation of Bodybuilding at that point had no interest in women bodybuilding.
Why was that, do you think? Was it just their view of women at the time?
No, it's at the time. They were stuck in, we created this federation for the guys.
Oh, yeah, so it's a boys club.
Why are we getting, it's like gym owners like Joe Gold. He would not let women train. Why? Not because it was against women. No, we loved women coming in there. But he figured, I don't have the room for another bathroom here. I have 3,000 square feet. I have only for the man the shower and the bathroom.
Some of those girls will piss standing up, I'll tell you that, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, we had women coming in and they watched us work out, but they couldn't train there until they got then a bigger space, and then women were included in the whole thing. And so the federation was a little bit reluctant to do that. And when we did the Miss Olympia, and all of the girls really enjoyed that, that they were able to go on stage and to also compete with the muscles and all that stuff. The federation then woke up and they said, okay, we're going to get involved in that and we're going to go get it. And since then it has been booming, and they've been doing not only bodybuilding competitions, but, fitness competitions and beauty competitions.
Does Arnold Classic have a women's division?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at these chocolate babies right here, huh? Yeah, everybody kind of gets chocolatier, huh?
They're tanned. Now you have this tanning stuff.
Was it real tanning back then, or was it?
No.
What was the key to the best tan? The best tan?
We got the best tan that we could get. So I would work out a lot of times outside in the weightlifting platform in Venice.
Oh yeah, I love that.
So you get kind of tanned all over the place. Doing chin-ups and doing bench presses and incline and dips and all this stuff. Then we would jump in the ocean again, come back and work out some more and all this. But on the end, we then added to that tan in a Minute by Helena Rubinstein.
Ooh.
So I don't even know if this exists anymore.
Bring it up, 10 in a minute, huh?
But
60-second sous vide, they call it.
That was, in those days, it was the big trick. So you put it on with a sponge. You just poured it out on a little plate. You put it on with a sponge, and you had a buddy of yours that did your back and stuff again, the back of the thighs and all of that stuff. So this is what he did. That's why a lot of guys, the day they spray it on, they have actual experts come to the bodybuilding show, and backstage there's people that manufacture this tanning stuff, and they would then help bodybuilders and just spray it on and all of that. So it is much more professional today.
But at the time, so they would put that tan in a can, basically.
Yeah, they would put it in a bottle. It was in a bottle.
And you'd have a friend do your back. Would anybody ever sabotage somebody and not do their back really good?
No, but I mean, there were some people that were really stupid and then did not know how to put it on. It would show kind of like streaks of the because they didn't have the right
a little
sponge.
mulatto around the wrist.
So we put on just a light kind of layer. It was all about just a little subtle thing, because it's not going to make you win. It just makes the photos look a little bit better when you have a little bit of color.
And what was it called if somebody went too dark? Would you just call them a little chocolate bunny or something? Like, what would you do if somebody...
It was up to the individual. As a matter of fact, they tell you that you can see in our Arnold Classic, a lot of times when the guys turn around, you sometimes don't even know who is black and who is not.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because they're so dark now. All of a sudden, is in the CIA, and then she's also a spy, and all of this stuff. So there's all these conflicts that are going on, and it makes it a really interesting show then to watch because it's relationships, it's action, it's funny and all that. And so last show did very well. The last series, and now they did the second season, and so now we see how that is doing.
Yeah, I think there's like a level of also nostalgia just getting to see you still operate in these roles, you know, like you've continued to keep you've just continued to want to work. Because you don't have to work anymore.
Well, let me tell you something. I love the work. Why? Because it makes you active. And I just think the most important thing is as we get older, you don't have to worry about any of that right now. But I mean, eventually you will. When you get older, you have a tendency of sitting around. You have a tendency of not moving as much. And so it forces you. So when you do a movie, you have to get up at 6 a.m. You have to get to the set. You have to go and prep. You have to go and practice the action and all that stuff and the fight scenes. You have to do the rehearsals of the scenes, and you work until night.
Right.
Then you go home and you fall bed tired, and then you get up again in the morning. So, and remember, the most important thing for your brain is to go and practice and to kind of do challenging things with your brain so you don't get Alzheimer's and the other kind of diseases like that. So it makes you memorize lines, long scenes, and especially on TV, you do like 6 to 8 or 10 pages a day.
Oh, just keeping your brain active.
So bring it around, and then I play chess on the side while I'm waiting for the scenes and all this. To just keep always going. So to me, the important thing is because I feel like if you rest, you rust. And so it's all about movement. It's all about keep moving and keep challenging yourself. Because as soon as we retire, things go south.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something that happens to
especially
the brain
Alzheimer's.
and to the body.
I mean, especially it's Alzheimer's. Schwarzenegger, Alzheimer's, they almost seem like they would be neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Like, no judgment or anything, but it almost seems like that would be the one to look for you because of just your same letters, some of the same letters even.
I have enough with my heart problem. So, I mean, I don't have to worry about
you've had heart
another
problems?
problem. No, for forever.
Oh.
For the last 25 years, I had open heart surgery, 3 times and all that kind of stuff. And valve replacements and all that stuff. It's a congenital thing from my mother. She had it from her mother and all that stuff. And so I have to deal with that all the time. But everything is good because I train every day and I exercise and I watch what I eat, which is I watch the food and then I eat it.
Did you ever have a stroke and you just you're like, I've kind of had that before. I can get through the rest of the day?
No, none of that.
You know what I'm talking about though?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever have because sometimes you'll get a pain or something and you're like, I think I'm okay. Did you ever have I'm assuming if you had a lifetime of having heart issues that you would start to be like, that's
no, it was
okay.
never. I always was kind of in front of the situation. So that means that I remember when I took my mother to the hospital here when she was here visiting. She always had an episode, and I took her to UCLA. That's when we found out that she had a valve problem, and the doctor then said to me, he says, "Make sure that you also check yourself." He says, because this is something that's a genetic thing.
So it's almost like a gift that she got to be here and you got to go through that with her.
Yeah, exactly. So I, from that point on, always went with the doctor. And the doctor said to me, he says, well, you have, at one point he said, you have a problem with your valve, with your aortic valve. And you don't have to do anything now. He says, but as soon as we see it going down, we want to catch it before it goes down because otherwise it affects the aorta itself and blah, 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 and all of that. So the bottom line is I stayed on top of it and always. So when I got my surgery, open heart surgery, I went in there because I made an appointment. So there was no episode, there was no stroke, there was no heart attack or anything. Never had any of those kind of things. So I always was ahead of the game.
Was it scary when they put you under? Were you kind of scared?
No,
Did you make sure it was the best guy doing it, Arnold? Because you got to have the best guy.
Of course, it's important.
Did you look him in the eyes and take him off the side and say, hey, let's make sure we do it good?
No, I don't have to do that now. I think
I would do that for sure.
I knew this guy's history, Dr. Starnes, was his name. They did the first two surgeries, and he was like the top of the top. So there was no two ways about it.
When you've had such a you've had a very blessed and interesting life, right? It's been and you've had it, so at what point you're probably, I think it's fair to say you're probably in the second half of your life. At what point do you goals turn into like legacy, if in your mind at all, if it does? And I don't mean that to be an uncomfortable question. I'm just like, does your brain start to adjust where like, these are my goals, and then like, okay, this is a legacy that I want to leave? Does that make any sense or no?
Well, I think it is always important to think about, the idea of that we should leave the world a better place than we inherited it. And so my whole life was always about, okay, how can I make this a better world of the knowledge that I have? So, for instance, in fitness, in bodybuilding, I went around the world to promote the idea of weightlifting and weight training and resistance training.
Oh, yeah.
And made it then popular, right? Because we had to figure out a way of penetrating through the general public that thought that bodybuilding is just, flexing your muscles on stage. But they didn't realize that bodybuilding is something that you just get a healthy and stronger body for whatever you do. You maybe need it for tennis, you maybe need it for your bicycling, you maybe need it for your whatever sport, like UFC fighters are working.
Oh, the first time I heard of fitness was through you. It was through you.
So, but I mean, that was the idea, is I wanted to not just lift myself up, but I wanted to lift the rest of the bodybuilding movement up. And so it was always something. So now, of course, 50 years later, there's a gymnasium in every hotel in the world. There is a gymnasium or weight room in every kind of a military installation or base.
There's those guys we saw there doing those curls with the cement. There's everything.
Exactly. So people are lifting weights everywhere. Every high school, every college, every sports team, everyone has weight rooms.
Yeah.
So this is where we are now. So this is why I felt really proud of that we were able, with the help of Jane Fonda and other kind of characters that were, helping women with the fitness movement. And so we really elevated the fitness sport to something really, also a huge economic, contribution that it made. So to me, that's important. When I became governor, I wanted to make sure that we have healthcare for everybody. I wanted to make sure that we have a cleaner environment, that we fight pollution, and to pass laws to reduce the pollution in California by 25% and all that. So I continued on creating an environmental organization and to have our World Summit in Vienna every year, where all the environmentalists come together and talk about how do we go and fight pollution and all that stuff. So we have one coming up in 14 days now again. And so it's always after school programs, for instance, when I realized that our kids, 70% of the kids come from a home where both of the parents are working. So there's no one there picking them up after 3 o'clock from the school.
Right.
So there's kids standing around after school and not doing anything. So then I found out, well, this is the danger zone for kids between 3 and 6 o'clock because there's no supervision. So they get involved with drugs, with gangs, with violence, with alcohol, teenage pregnancy. I said, this costs the community a lot of money. Let's do something about it. Everyone was complaining about it, but they were not doing anything about it. So I stepped out and I started the after-school programs. And it has been a huge hit. We have raised over the last 30 years.
Are they still open, the programs you started?
$1.5 billion we raised.
Oh, really? How much was it?
All over the country. We have been to millions and millions of kids. We have helped with after-school programs with great success rates and all of this stuff. So to me, it's all about how can I make this a better world. So
I see what you're saying. So you feel like a lot of your legacy's kind of been lived along the way.
Exactly. It's not like this should be my legacy. I don't think that way, but I think about I want to improve the world, especially
now.
But I mean, think about it. I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant that came over here and got every opportunity in the world because of America.
Right.
And America gave me everything. They gave me the money that I have made, the career in bodybuilding, the career in acting, the wonderful family. All of that stuff is because of America. So to me, it's a natural thing that I give something back to America.
Well, you're one of the most jacked immigrants, too, that we've ever had, probably, I think, for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah, you do. And you're competitive about it. I love that. I can feel how competitive you are. And that's great. You have to be competitive because also America is a platform for if you are competitive and if you choose to apply yourself that you can reach some of your dreams and goals and aspirations. Do you think that it's still possible? Like you've gotten to live in America for a while now and have a good breadth of understanding here. You've gotten to work in politics. Do you think the American dream is still possible? Or do you think there's things happening these days that are where we're not helping that along?
Well, I can tell you, I didn't study this issue, right? So I couldn't really give you facts and figures. But what I can tell you is, no matter where I go in the world today, people come up to me and says, Arnold, can you please help me get to America? So that never has changed. It doesn't matter to immigrants. People that want to come here, they don't know what the political situation is. They don't care if the Democrat is in power or a Republican is in power, what the Senate says, what the Congress says, what the governor says, nothing. They just want to come over here. They want to get a shot. Yeah. So this is what it is. And you have to do it the legal way. So that is the key thing to me.
For sure.
To do it the legal way. So anyway, the bottom line is, I think the opportunities are there. When I go down to Gold's Gym, I see this guy from Africa that was competing in my bodybuilding shows in the Arnold Classic and was in one of the top 3 in order. Then he became a personal trainer. He's charging $200 an hour. He's driving up one day with his blue Bentley. The next day he's driving up with his red Ferrari. And I mean, this is a guy from Africa that came over here with nothing.
Yeah.
So this is a young kid. He's like maybe 35 or 40 years old. And look at what he does. So there's trainers down there that are from different countries. There's people, if you're willing to work, that's why I always say to people, I say, work your ass off. Don't ever come, this is my big advice to immigrants. I say, don't ever come over here to just use this country. I say, give something back. Think about that you want to work your ass off here. You want to educate yourself here. You want to contribute to America here. That's what you want to do, because the very fact that you're allowed to come over here, you should go and have that mentality of wanting to give something back. That's the bottom line.
Amen, man. And I think that goes to, even as you're saying that, Arnold, it's making me think about like even relationships that I'm in or business situations. I should think of most things as that way. Like, let me give something to this, right? Whatever this is, if this is a relationship with a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or if it's a team that I'm on or just a commitment I've had, I'm going to spend an hour with my son or my mom to do something. Let me give something to this, right? Let me not just take even this moment for granted, whatever it is. Let me be here and be present and apply myself,
right?
So that we create something that just so I'm honoring the fact that I even have this moment in time.
Yes, yeah. And let me tell you something, that as soon as people realize that they're not self-made, that there were a lot of people involved in where you are today. A lot of people. You couldn't operate without your engineer. You couldn't operate without the deal that you got to do this and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. You have to recognize that, because when you recognize that you're not self-made, that people have helped you, that is what makes you then click and say, I got to now help other people. I have the responsibility to help other people. And then you realize how much joy it brings you when you see that you have an impact and you can help other people. That's why we have the Pump Club, and that's why we do the Arnold Classic and the promotion of bodybuilding and environmental stuff and the after-school programs. I mean, to go to one of these after-school program conventions and to hear the kids' stories, it just makes you feel so good that you did that you raised the money. We have poker tournaments at my house where we raise like $7-8 million sometimes. Damn. And then we put this right into the after-school programs. So this is where the action is. And you can do all of that because, as I always say, the day is 24 hours. And I talk about at great length in my book, Be Useful. I talk about all of those kind of principles of giving back and having a vision and don't listen to the naysayers and all those kind of things.
Who do you go to for your inspiration? Do you have like a coach or a mentor over the years? Have you had like do you go to Tony Robbins? Do you hire some of these guys who are really good at this type of stuff to help you in certain speed bumps in your life?
Well, I would say that I have always had mentors, like the leaders that helped me and I looked up to them. Reg Park is something then bodybuilding that I looked up to. Then later on was like Ronald Reagan when he was governor of California, then became president, and Nixon. People that I looked up to, or George Shultz, who was Secretary of State under Reagan, that then became my mentor when I became governor and told me about how to work together with Democrats and Republicans and not to just use my way or the highway type of thing.
Did you get to meet Reagan?
Yeah, for many times. Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. What was he like?
I was at the White House. I was invited to state dinners there and everything like that.
They have good food over there?
Say again?
Good food over there, huh?
Oh, yeah. They know how to cook.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
God,
but there's, and then also Nixon. I mean, I was down at the Nixon Library, I remember in the early 90s. And that's when Nixon, just without telling me, called me up on stage and wanted me to give a speech. So I told him how I became a Nixon fan and, when I came over here to this country and all that stuff. He loved it. He said to me, you should become governor of California. And so it was really great. So he was one of the guys that always pushed about.
That's awesome. That's Bob Hope right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just got back. I just did a show in Qatar.
Oh, you did?
It was pretty cool. Yeah. I happened to just be over there. Trump was over there speaking too at the same day, but we just did a show for the troops.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But this is a great thing that you do.
It was awesome.
I tell you, there's nothing that they appreciate more than to go there and to schmooze with them, take photographs with them, or tell them some jokes.
Yeah,
I remember I did it with Jay Leno.
It was hit or miss. There we are right there.
Oh, man, look at that.
That's what
Look at that team.
A couple Ku Klux Sansmen. That's the joke I made.
Yeah.
Pretty good joke. Funny. I think it's good.
Yeah.
When you look,
do that often? You do shows for?
I did it for a long time, and then I've taken a break
for
recently.
Troops.
Yeah. I did it for a long time, and then I've taken a break recently. But this really reignited me on it. I was actually texting a couple friends of mine and saying, let's go do some just even close bases that are close to us in America, just whatever we can. Let's start to do it a little bit more. And I think we're going to start to do it more. So I'm really excited about that. I feel really lucky. I mean, my whole job is freedom of speech, right? So it's like, if people aren't protecting that, you can't even be a comedian in some countries, you know?
No, of course not. Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. And of course, I remember that when I was in my height in my bodybuilding days, I was invited to go on an aircraft carrier, Norfolk, Virginia, and to go and train with the sailors.
Oh.
And to show them how to exercise and all that stuff. It was fantastic.
I bet they love that.
It was up there on the stage. So ever since then, I really found it really enjoyable to go, if it's down here near San Diego, to Pendleton, or any of those military bases, or if I go to Seoul, South Korea, or to Japan, or anywhere I go, Middle East. I was in Kuwait and visiting the military
it's
base,
fun over there.
working out with them. It's like 3-4 in the morning.
Dude, when I work out with them, they don't give a shit. I'll tell you that, dude.
Well, I tell you that there's some really serious lifters there.
Yeah, but they do not.
Yeah.
They do not want to see me do anything. I usually stand on the side and just drink. I'll have a little bit of a protein shake. But what about like, was it hard with your whole life? Was it tough to be was it ever tough to be a good husband or be a good dad? Like, if so much of your job takes like your work side of you, because I noticed for me, like, I'm not married yet. I would like to find a wife, but it's hard for me to even find time. Like, is it like, were there moments where? Because your life gets so big, right? And you've had a big life. I mean, there's like you, Arnold, and then the other guy, Hey Arnold, he's a fucking drawing, I think, right? So you're like, the name is yours, really.
Right.
Like, does it ever get hard to be a parent or something? Because of how big you're.
Let me tell you something. Everything that you want to do that is really good and you want to go all out, it's difficult. It's challenging. But I was very fortunate because I married a woman that understood that I have to work. And she didn't complain about it. So we got together and I understood that right away because of the family she came from, the Kennedy family, right? So Maria Shriver was like, she understood that all of her...
Bobby Kennedy, she related to Bobby Kennedy?
Yeah. So if it is, John F. Kennedy, if it was Bobby Kennedy Sr., when he ran for president, her father ran for president and for vice president and all of this. So she was used to that everyone has to go out and work.
The energy
that
of
they
it
left
all.
the house in the morning and they came back late at night. Or like, for instance, then later on, was traveling around the world for Special Olympics and her mother was also a workaholic. And so she understood that. And so when I was going on location, when we had kids, she would go and she would stop her job in New York, the NBC job that she was hosting, the morning news, and she would stay home. She would stay home and she would stay with the kids. And so this is why we have 4 terrific kids that we created together. And Patrick, of course, we're very proud of him.
Oh, yeah. I love his new show.
The show.
So cool. He did a great job.
He did a fantastic job. And, and Catherine is fantastic and writes books and all this stuff.
And who are your other 2 children? Just so we
Christina and Christopher.
And Christopher.
And Christopher is also in show business. He's, working for a production company. He reads more scripts than I ever read in my whole life. But I mean, so it's really great to see all the kids. And then I have one son outside the marriage, which is Joseph. And Joseph is also doing terrific in real estate and stuff. So it's that it's a key thing is to really concentrate on being a participative father when you have kids. Because you got to go, they want to see you ski when you go up and say, let's go skiing. They don't want you to just send them up in the mountains in the cold weather where they freeze their butt off. They want to see you sitting on a chairlift, go up with the skis and ski with them. So that's what I did.
Up.
So they of course, they hated it when they were kids. They said, oh, Daddy, let's go in. I want to get a hot chocolate. They said, there is no hot chocolate. There's skiing. I said, this is a ski mountain, not a hot chocolate mountain. So what's the matter with you kids? And then they were crying on the chair. And then we were going up there on the chairlift and we were skiing down for 3-4 hours. And then we had the hot chocolate and we had the lunch and all that stuff. And now, when they go up to Sun Valley and they go skiing, they stop me and they said, Dad, I just want you to know how much I appreciate that you made us ski. Because now I ski fantastic. I can go down on any run.
And they think of you when they do it.
So that's what I always tell my friends. I say, don't just go and take pictures of them skiing. No, you put the skis on, you put your ski boots on, and you go and do it. And it's the same with playing soccer. I was playing soccer with my son, and it was, you got to go and participate in all of this stuff. And so this is what I believed in. I went to all the games with my wife.
Oh, damn.
This is,
brother.
Well, Andy Leibovitz can make anyone look good.
I guess. Yeah. My gosh.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I just gathered from so many of your things is just the application of self, right?
Yeah.
And that you have to go get it. You have to go do this, right? Do you know Bobby pretty good? Bobby Kennedy's a friend of mine.
Yeah. Bobby, I mean, let me tell you something about Bobby. I mean, he's a great guy.
Oh, he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite guys.
Think about,
I know him from recovery. We go to recovery meetings together.
But think about this for a second. I'm running for governor in 2003. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call from Bobby, who I knew very well. And Bobby and Joe Kennedy, his brother, his older brother, and they were always really kind of nice to me and kind and inclusive and stuff like that.
Well, fuck, you're the damn Terminator. They got to be at least cordial.
No, but I mean, some people are kind of like, oh, who is this new guy coming into the family type of thing.
Oh, I see. Especially their family because it's a prestigious thing.
That's right, yeah. So, but they were really nice. So Bobby calls me and he says, Arnold, you're Republican. Republicans are not known for their environmental record. He says, I'm an environmentalist. He says, yes, you know, I'm the head of the river keepers and all that stuff. And I have a guy that you should have on your team that can educate you really about the environment. I said, well, think about it. That's really nice. I said, who is it? Terry Tamminen. He says, let me send him over to your office. He sent over Terry Tamminen. We hit it off right away really well. And the next thing I know is we're working together. He's part of the team. And then when I became governor, and I think that contributed to me becoming governor because I sold this whole idea that I want to be environmentally friendly. I want to reduce greenhouse gases. I want to get the renewable energy up in California and all of this stuff. So the next thing is I become governor. He becomes now, Terry Tamminen becomes the head of the EPA and all of this. But this all happened, in my knowledge about the environment, and all this happened because of Bobby Kennedy. So that's the kind of a guy he is. I mean, he's like, didn't say, oh, you're a Republican, I'm going to campaign against you. No, he was 100% on board. He wanted to wish me good luck, and he did wish me good luck, and he wanted me to win, not because I'm a Republican. He just felt like, oh, I like Arnold. I want
the good guy to win, no matter what side he's on.
Exactly. So that's the kind of a guy Bobby is, you know. So I think the world of him.
Yeah, he's cool. We had him on the podcast when everybody was thinking he was kind of crazy during the pandemic and stuff, and he was concerned about just people's health and well-being with vaccines and stuff. We had him on. And but yeah, I've always known him to be just a neat guy. You know, he's my friend. Yeah, I'm excited for him. I'm curious to see what it's like once you get into office. How can you still keep your beliefs or not? Or do things get heavily compromised? Do you feel like?
Yeah, it is compromised. You have to.
You have to compromise.
Because the whole world doesn't think exactly like you. And remember what Eisenhower said. Eisenhower said that politics is like the road. The left and the right is the gutter. And the center is drivable. And that's exactly the way it is in politics. You have to understand that there's a sweet spot. You know, like the teacher in golf, hit the sweet spot, or in tennis, to hit the sweet spot. Notice there's a sweet spot to find exactly so you can get a deal made and that you can move things forward. It's not exactly your way. I mean, I remember with the infrastructure, I wanted to build $100 billion worth of infrastructure, but they only agreed on end to around $60 billion. So I didn't get my way. With the financial situation, I wanted to wipe out the deficit, and I was not able to do that with all these Democrats around it. They love to spend money. So I was stuck with it. So, but the fact of the matter is we could improve the situation, and I was able to work together with the Democrats on environmental issues and infrastructure issues and so many other healthcare issues and so many other issues, education and all of this stuff. And we did really fine, and had a great time up there being governor of the state of California.
But it's about compromise. I mean, you've said before that you can't do everything. You can't do it all by yourself,
no,
right?
It's not a dictatorship, you know. So you have two parties. If ever within your own party they think differently, so that's you have to face reality. The trick is just to not hate the other side because they think differently. It's just kind of like figuring out how can we work together and how can we do something that's really good for the people. That's the bottom line.
They just had. Do you think we'll ever have a Republican governor again in California?
Well, you know, if someone has a good program and if someone is organic. I mean, with me, it was possible because I had a great mentor, number one, which was Pete Wilson, who was a governor of California 2 terms. And he helped me.
P.D. Wilson?
Yeah, Pete Wilson, yeah. And he helped me, with the race a lot. And then I also was organic because, you know, people saw that I did not come out of nowhere where I all of a sudden went from acting to politics. I mean, I was working with Special Olympics for decades, going around the world to help Special Olympics and to get recognition for them and to be able to get jobs and to have, be able to live anywhere they want and to get into sports, Special Olympics, sports programs, and all this powerlifting and all this. So I was always fighting for equality, including in South Africa with Nelson Mandela. We were there together fighting for Special Olympics. So the people in California saw all of that.
Right.
And also me starting the after-school programs and having an initiative that I went to the people a year before in 2002, and the people voted 57% in favor of that initiative to help after-school programs. So I was already in there, and I was working with President Bush, being the chairman of the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports. So I was already giving back and giving back and giving back. So when I said, now, I'm not interested anymore in just doing another movie. I'm more interested in getting the state of California back on its feet because we had blackouts, we had huge deficits. You know, the illegals were getting driver's license. There was all kinds of crazy stuff that was going on here. And I said to myself, you know, the Indian gaming, they didn't pay taxes and they did all the gaming and made it billions of dollars. And their workers' compensation costs were high, and people were moving out with their businesses in California. I say, I will bring California back. No matter how many people were campaigning for Gray Davis, who was governor then. You know, Clinton came out and campaigned for him. Gore came out. John Kerry came out. Al Sharpton. All of those guys came out to campaign for him. I said to Bush, I said, no, don't come out. I don't need that. It's between me and the voters.
Yeah.
And so I convinced the California people, and that's how I became governor. That's why I got a huge majority of votes. But it was organic. So many of the guys come from real estate and they say, well, I want to be governor. I have the money now. And I want to. People don't buy in on that stuff.
Right. You can't just buy it. I don't think you can just buy it. You had Bloomberg tried to do it a few years ago. It didn't work.
Yeah, you have to be real. Yeah. And you have to be able to have a vision. Remember, again, it goes back to the book, be useful. Rule number one is you have to have a clear vision. You can't just say, I want to be governor. What is your vision? If someone sits down and says, what is your vision of your California?
Right.
Remember that Teddy Kennedy, the problem he had? when they asked him, Roger Mudd asked him when he announced to run for president, and Roger Mudd asked him, he says, why do you want to be president? Teddy couldn't answer it. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, well, my mother Rose, she always taught us to give something back. So it didn't work. People didn't buy it, even though he was a great public servant and did a great job.
You know,
a senator, but he couldn't sell it. So you have to come out of the gate and really be very forceful and know and let the people know, I know what I want to do, and I'm going to fight for you. Not fight for me. I don't want to be a political hack. I don't want to be just another Republican that wins the thing. No, I want to fight for you. So that was the whole theme of the campaign.
They have they just had where they found $20-something billion that was it was supposed to be earmarked for homeless help in California that went missing, right? How does money go missing once you're in these places, do you think? Is it just people, what does it say? Newsom confronted at a press conference about $24 billion spent on tackling homelessness. How does stuff like that, and it didn't have to be this specifically, but once you're in office and you see these huge amounts of money, how does stuff like that just go by the wayside where it gets, lost or missing, hypothetically, do you think?
Well, first of all, let me just say, none of those politicians I would want to run my company.
Yeah.
None of those companies, none of those politicians, I would like to hand over my checkbook, my bank account, and say, you manage it now.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where it starts. So they're not that smart when it comes to solving problems. And so I can totally understand how $24 billion is missing because it's wasted. They cannot even show it. They cannot even have any accountability.
Yeah.
But this has been going on for 20 years now.
I know.
We're not talking about just for the last few years. This has been going on and on. Everyone has been complaining about the homeless, but they don't really tell you that this was created by the politicians, the homelessness.
Did Reagan create it, though?
No. It was created by having people go and say, we don't want no growth in California. So when you have when I came over here, it was 19, 20 million people in California. Well, we had 6-lane highways. So now when you go to 40 million people, you would know mathematically now you need 12-lane highways, meaning 6 lanes, and then on top of it, you build another freeway, right? So that you don't have traffic congestion. But that's not what they did.
Right.
Then when you have when you go from 20 to 40 million people, then you need twice as many houses.
Yeah.
You need twice as many apartment buildings. You need twice as much of everything. Schools and everything. And they didn't. They didn't take care of them because the environmentalists thought that if we say no growth, then no one will come. But in the meantime, no one gives a shit about that. They come anyway. And then they somehow then live 3 people in one apartment or 5 people in one apartment, or sometimes with workers that sometimes live 10 people in one apartment.
Yeah, they'll really be laying on each other's backs.
So then what happens now is when you have a limited amount of housing, now the prices rise. So now when the prices go up, the value of the apartment building goes up. So the unit that used to cost $600 now costs $3,000 a month. Yeah. But the salaries, the wages didn't go up accordingly.
Yep.
So now you have people that are economically homeless. They cannot afford paying for their rent anymore. So this is created by the politicians. And now remember what Einstein said. The people that created the problem cannot solve it. So they are doing the same thing over, which is another thing Einstein said. If you try to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity.
And it feels like that's what we're living.
So this is what we are dealing with here. So we have, the city here is not able to manage with this whole thing. On a state level, we are not able to manage this whole thing. So it's like I had to go. We had the homeless veterans camping out in front of the Veterans Administration up there in Westwood.
Oh, yeah, right over there, 405 in Santa Monica.
Right in front of for
in Wilshire.
Years.
Yeah.
They're camping out there, and no one is helping them. So I went and I started making a deal, and I said, can we not put inside some houses, little houses? And they said, yes. And I donated the money. And we started building houses. And since then, there's now hundreds of houses inside the Veterans Administration, and the homeless are gone.
Yeah,
because they wanted to help the Veterans Administration, but it took a while, and the city kept saying, oh, it is too difficult to do, and this is really challenging to do. I said, watch that. Within 2 months, we had those houses there, and we created homes for 25 people so they could move in, just to show to the city it can be done.
Amen.
Don't give me this, it can't be done. Anything can be done if there's a will to it with the whole thing.
Amen. I have 2 quick questions for you just about people. Thank you so much for your time today, Arnold. Thanks for the inspiration. I feel like this has been an inspirational conversation for me. You never know what certain conversations are going to be like. Thanks for your contributions to entertainment and to just, it's evident that you are the American dream, and it made me feel like it is still possible, which I don't know if I even felt like that when I started this conversation. Did you ever get to meet Michael Landon before?
No.
You didn't? Oh, I love him. He was one of my favorites. And did you ever get to meet Michael Jackson before?
Yeah.
What was he like? Do you have any good, a cool story about him?
Really nice man. I mean, he was very nice. He came to my trailer several times when I was filming over there in Universal lot, the studio. And then we had also dinner several times. I remember one time with Katzenberg, and maybe it was even Katzenberg that organized it. I cannot remember anymore. But he was a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Would he tell stories and stuff like regular people? Because they always make him seem so quiet.
No, he's quiet. And it could be because he wanted to protect his voice. He was odd.
Yeah.
No two ways about that. But he was very, very nice and very interesting and fascinated about different things. And he was, many times I also felt like you're talking to a child.
Oh, I could see that for sure.
He would shift into this thing where things that children are really into, kind of like rides in Disney or something like that he would talk about that really interested him. And so it was kind of an interesting thing, but you can see the way he grew up. And with the amount of fame that he had, how difficult it must have been for him to handle all that.
Oh, I can't even,
and to be this genius of a musician. I mean, it's like unbelievable. And it's sad that he got addicted to this kind of, sleeping thing.
Propofol, I think, or something, yeah.
And then took too much of it and passed away. It was a huge loss for the world because he was just such a fantastic entertainer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see his children every now and then. I cross paths with his daughter every once in a while.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to share on? I think it's been a good conversation. Do you guys feel like that?
I think that the key thing is that we pump up, that while you're airing this interview, that you show every 10 minutes a trailer of
Fubar?
Fubar.
Okay.
And then while I'm talking, you show a little bit of clips again, and then a little bit of that. Let me help you with the editing, okay?
Hey, I promise you this. I will certainly support it, and I'll watch some more of it. I'm going to get some of my friends to watch it. We grew up watching just so many movies. The lady with the 3 breasts, remember that one? She was God.
Oh, yeah, from Total Recall.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I recall those a lot, brother,
Recall, yeah.
And I totaled them up 3 every time,
exactly.
baby, But thank you for that. That was the first breast I was ever allowed to see a little bit. So, but thank you so much, man. Oh,
absolutely, it was great. And remember, I hope this is not the last time.
Oh, yeah.
They do it again sometimes.
Oh, no, I would love to do this again.
Yeah, and, that was fun. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much. Oh, one more, just say something nice about each one of your children so one day they'll be able to see this really fast.
Whoa, I'm proud of all my children. I'm very proud of Catherine, who has 3 kids now herself, and who's writing books, and she's the greatest mother. She's just like her mother, Maria, that was a really fantastic mother, and I'm very proud of her. I'm proud of Christina, who is also, into producing and doing, TV shows, documentaries, and all that.
Here in Los Angeles?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Patrick Schwarzenegger,
Yeah, just saw his new show.
He's
so good.
He's doing really well. I'm so happy that his acting career is taking off. This is something that he really was very passionate about always. Christopher is doing a great job. I mean, he just lost 150 pounds.
No way.
Yeah, so he used to weigh 350. He's now down like to 210 or something like that.
Oh, he must be feeling so much healthier, huh?
He feels really great. He works at the Gold's Gym every day, and I know that I'm really proud of him.
You get to see him there sometimes?
Yeah, I see him all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, Joseph is a fantastic human being. He's into real estate. He's into acting. And
A long time ago, they had a man who was in love with a woman. And you know how that goes, man. Being in love with somebody can just, it can reorganize the way your brain acts. You know, it can renegotiate the highways of thought inside of you. You know, being in love with somebody will it can really create like a violent relationship between your own heart and brain. You know, my heart and my brain don't really team up that much unless love is involved, I find. You know, whether that's love with someone else or love for something. You know, most of the day, I find, this is just me, I'm wandering about the world, and, you know, when I'm just doing things, I'm reacting and I'm acting and I'm thinking, making choices. But then sometimes something will occur that usually it involves another person, and you get love involved in you. And that's when my brain and my heart have to team up, and then they make choices together. And sometimes they make good choices. Sometimes they make scared choices. But it's usually some type of love will make those link up. And that's kind of interesting. But yeah, the castle was a great spot. It was fun. It was a unique experience. What else happened over there? You know, it was just good, man. I got delayed on the way in. I sat next to, now Kentucky's got some real, you know, I mentioned Jared Lorenzen is a big gentleman, the quarterback. Other people who are not quarterbacks, who are just regular humans, are also, can be damn Ariana Grande. You know what I'm saying? This dude, I sat on next to the plane, next to a guy. This dude, largest dude I ever seen. When he sat in the seat, the whole rest of his body came up around his head. So he was just kind of punxsutawney filling inside of himself. You know, the lady, when she came by with the peanuts, she just set a couple of them up on the ridge where his head, his hair was just kind of poking out of the top of him. Because the seat pushed his body up so high, it just encompassed the whole sides of his head and neck. So you had to kind of look over the edges of his shoulders to even see the top of his head. He was down inside of himself. And I checked on him a couple times, you know, make sure he was, you know, living. But, and she, you know, and she set a couple peanuts up on the ridge of him so he could lick, you know, fire his tongue out and grab him. This guy weighed, no, I'm not joking, I'm not making fun of him. This guy weighed 600 pounds. You know, I got a couple pictures. He didn't know, but I got a couple pictures with him in case, you know, something happens to him. He looked like he was just trapped inside of himself. Like if he knew a couple passwords or something, he could get out of himself. You know, it looked like he wanted somebody to break in there and free him. But a large man. And he also, look, I'll say this, he had a sense of humor about it. The lady came down the aisle, the the flight attendant. And she said, you know, can I get you something to drink? He's like, I'll take a beer. And then he goes, can I have it in the can? And she goes, you can have it in a cup. And then he goes, can I have it in a cone? And I think he was joking, but I'm not really sure. But I'll be damned if that dude, you know, 9 minutes later, he ain't having half of a Guinness out of a damn waffle cone. And that's when you know your weight is getting a hold of you. When you were drinking beer out of a sugar cone or waffle cone. I mean, if you find yourself putting sprinkles on a Michelob Ultra, then you probably have maybe dietary issues. But I'm happy to be here today with you guys. And Merry Christmas to you, man. Let me give you that. Dude, imagine if your nuts had jingle bells in there. Can you imagine that, bro? You roll up on a couple ladies and then you're talking to one of them. She doesn't know if you're interested, and then you flex your nuts a little and you hear that. Moist is the choice after that for the ladies. You know what I'm saying? Wow, man. That's, if you had, dude, the girls would know what's up. The girls would know what's up. But Kentucky was great. A lot of people came out. Who came out? I met a couple had the same name, Joel. They had a man named Joel, and his wife was also named Joel. And I just said, well, Joel to the world, bruh. Good luck out there. Because I can't believe they found each other. But I also kind of can believe they found each other, because if you introduce yourself to somebody, your name is Joel, which isn't, it's a nice name, but it's not a real name. Really, that name is Joel. That's like somebody, if their name is Ronald, and they say, my name is Ro in Ald. And you're like, what is your name? And they're like, it's Ro in Ald. I'm like, you mean fucking Ronald? That's Ronald, bro. But these people, Joel. And I guess after a while, if you introduce yourself to somebody, you say, hey, I'm Joel. They're like, oh, you mean Joel? And you're like, no, Joel. And they're like, oh, well, that's crazy, because there's another crazy person who doesn't know how letters work super greatly. And they also live, over that hillside. And then, of course, you go meet that person. But we had two people with the rare same name come out. Who else? A fella named Bent came out. They had a family, and they had a family member in a wheelchair. And wheelchairs, man, a lot of people, you see them, some people just lazy, some people have a handicaps. And I remember when I first saw a wheelchair, I thought, wow, this is it. This is the future. Because you could be having dinner and then be in a living room, without having to really move a muscle. And I thought that was pretty brilliant. But you see these people in these, in a wheelchair. They had a fella named Bent, they said. His name was Bent. And which is ironic, because he had a scoliosis had really got him. And he had scoliosis and double scoliosis. This dude, he really had just a game of Jenga going on inside of his backbone. And he had, you couldn't even, he was wild, man. He was wild, and you saw him and he just seemed like he was doing a lot, even though he wasn't doing much. But who else came out? Somebody brought me a muffin. I remember that. And it was warm. It was warm. And if somebody pull a warm muffin, first of all, somebody pull a muffin out of their coat. And I've done some stuff, You know what I'm saying? I've touched a titty that I couldn't see with my own eyes. I touched the first breast I ever touched through a electric fence. And we were both children. She was only probably maybe 11 or 9 or something. And I was only, maybe 10. So it wasn't really a breast yet, but it was going to be a tit. Still counts. So, but that was electric fence. And that is, never have I felt the Lord and the devil looking at me at the same time. When you're reaching for a breast, the Lord's little, just milk dud. And at the same time, the electricity of the devil is just whirling all around your arm. But that girl's name was June, was her name, named after the month. And goddamn, man, it didn't take me 30 days to touch that titty. I'll tell you that. Did it quickly. But yeah, somebody brought me a muffin. It was a warm muffin. That's what got me. Somebody pull a muffin out of a coat, set it in your hand. If it's cold, it's not as much of an adventure. But that warm muffin, that thing hit my hand. It was fucking warm. And I mean really warm. I'm not talking body heat. Like if you give me a muffin, you've had it in your coat. And that bitch is just body, that bitch is 98.6, bro. I'm just thinking, damn, this just a kind of this is a muffin that's just been body heated up. That's kind of gross for me. Some people, some families you'll see they got a chubby uncle with a fever and he got his shirt off and they keeping muffins warm on his back. Because somebody to have a fever, they'll keep a muffin at probably 101 or 102. And damn, that is, I don't know if you've ever had a fever warmed muffin, but god bang, melts right off the damn bone, brother. So, but yeah, this man must have had a fever or something going on, maybe an infection, because this thing was coming in warmer than regular body temperature. And I appreciated that. Somebody pulled out a warm muffin and handed me that. Somebody gave me a Snicker. A lot of people came for pictures with the strap. That might be the last tour of the strap. We'll see. Might not be. We'll see. But it was great, man. It was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun in the club. The staff and everybody really brought in a lot of joy. Ari Manis came, the feature. We did a Get the Cash. We hid some cash in the Castle Hotel room and helped a young cleaning lady, make some extra money. We'll put that up soon. And we just did some neat stuff, and I want to thank our Patreoners. And just thank you guys. It's been a long year. It's been a long year, man. I was thinking about actually maybe toning down some of the guest episodes and just doing more, I don't know. I like doing them. I just want to, sometimes when I do the guest episodes, I feel like I have to be, I don't know. I guess I feel like I have to pretend to be like a smart person or something, or I just have to pretend that, not pretend, but I don't know. I just have to, I have to be so present. And sometimes I don't like being super present. And I think some of that even probably more I think about it, like, some of it probably goes back to just, being young and I didn't enjoy the world as much. And so if I was present, it was more painful. Whereas if I could be more in my, just sit inside of the safety of my own brain or something like that, or inside of myself, then it felt more comfortable. But we'll see, man. I'm just figuring it out because I like being able to just be more comfortable on these episodes and not feel like and sometimes with the guests, I don't know, but we might experiment with some stuff. I want to be brave enough to make changes as I go, even when things are going good. Because I want to be able to take care of myself and feel healthy. And it's been it's been a wild year. It's been a busy, busy year. But what else, man? We got, I'll tell you some new tour dates we got coming up. I'll tell you also, we have a sale going on the website. It's 10% off everything at theovon.com. And we have a new Rat King shirt that'll go up later this week. But we have shows coming up. The Omaha Funny Bone, January 11th and 12th, Omaha, Nebraska. January 18th, 19th, and 20th, Irvine Improv. Addison, Texas, January 25th and 26th. And I was just there on Thursday. I stopped in Dallas and did one night there. And thank you to everybody that came out. Just a lot of beautiful souls. People drove in from different places. And, I met a young lady who was Nicaraguan. She came out. Who else? We had a young lady that made me some artwork, tour artwork. Lindsay, I think was her name. She came out and reminded me that I forgot to pay her. Or she didn't remind me, but the second I saw her, I was like, oh. So got settled up with her. So I'm grateful that I got to see her. And just good people. People came out a lot of joy. That show was a little stressful, just because you travel, you get right there and you go up and, I've just been feeling a little rattled, but that's okay. Operation Feeling Good is what's going to go on now. Addison Improv, I'll be back there, though, January 25th, 26th. Columbus, Ohio, February 8th and 9th. Houston Improv, February 22nd and 23rd. And then I'll be at the Wilbur in Boston and the Borgata Hotel and Casino. Those are March 8th and March 9th as well. I'm not ready to announce it yet, but we got a couple of other continents that we might be hitting. So a lot of exciting stuff. And I'm grateful, man. It's, I get to live out my dreams. I mean, that's crazy to think that, isn't it? It's crazy to think that I get to live some of my dreams out. And, I think about long-term stuff and somehow through this podcast, we're going to help other people live out some of their dreams as well. I don't know how we're going to do it. But some of it, I'm just going to let it happen organically instead of trying to push. And, for me, it's hard to let go and just let the world kind of occur sometimes. Because I'm afraid if I do that it won't take care of me sometimes. Part of me just doesn't trust the world in certain ways, I think. But anyhow, that's what's going on. Those are those dates. We got some calls that came in. Dude, speaking of Kentucky teacher arrested for sending nude pictures to former student. A middle school teacher in West Virginia, Ramsey was her name. I mean, come on, dude. If I had a hot teacher named Ramsey, look, there's some names, that's like if you had a teacher named, Miss Fuckington. Dude, there's no way. And if she's hot, yeah, man, there's no way I ain't gonna, all the artwork we do in class, I'm gonna have secret hidden pictures of my dick in the artwork. They're going to call me Walt Dixney. You feel me? I'm hiding dicks and everything. It could even just be a picture of like an orange we're drawing, the first picture ever in Miss Fuckington's art class. And I'm hiding a little dick behind the orange. Be like, damn, that orange has a big thick stem on it. Like, oh, that's a dick, Miss Fuckington. But some names, it's, you can't have certain names and not expect certain thing to happen to you. If your name is, Donnie Cement and people throwing fucking Quikrete and sacks of Quikrete in your house and shit while you're trying to sleep. Well, that's what you get. If your name is, Larry Raven. Oh, that's Larry Raven up there. He worked at the Ramada. Or he used to, before he got shot. But if your name is Larry Raven and people always, hiding crows and dark birds in your car, and I'm not talking about black girls, I'm talking about dark birds, okay? If people always hiding dark birds in your car, you can't be upset. If your name is, Cynthia Yogurt and people's, dripping a little bit of Dannon on your back and stuff at the ball game, who you going to be mad at, Cynthia? The person behind you with a couple pints at 2%? Or your parents for having a baby knowing the last name going to be Yogurt? I think it's the latter. But what do I know? What do I know? And I think maybe that's one thing I realize about doing the interviews I don't enjoy sometimes is I feel like I have to know stuff. And maybe that's just a pressure I put on myself. But this is all a learning experience, and I'm learning as I'm going. And I'm just so grateful to be here today with you guys. But yeah, the teacher in Kentucky, Ramsey, former Miss Kentucky pageant winner, sent the photos to former student. She's been suspended. And I'm wondering why this stuff is happening. Like I get a male teacher being attracted to female students. Some of that, there's a nature in there There's a lot of predators. Chris Hansen is on this week episode. And a lot of predators, and predator is just somebody that sees something and wants it. And the part of them that says, nah, you probably shouldn't have it. They tell that part to go, shut the fuck up. And they keep going. A lot of predators are men, because that's in our nature. If you watch the Nature Channel, it's usually, man animals is killing others. They don't really have Snapped, the animals episode season, even though they should. I'd like to see Snapped. It's like a couple female pandas with a little fucking, with a little 22 or something. Or a female panda just pulling out a damn little 6-shooter and popping off over there at the zoo, gunning down a couple of meerkats or something. What else? The holidays. I'm going to go home to Louisiana. I'm excited about that. I'll be there in New Orleans. That show's been sold out. That middle school teacher, why does that happen now more? When I was in middle school, I remember we had one teacher. I was the little dude who would try. All the teachers I thought was hot. My buddies would always be like, oh, did you see, Miss Garfala? They had a rumor going around when I was young. They said one of the teachers had 3 breasts. So, we was really up in arms about that. And when I say up in arms, it means we had both our arms up like this, and then we were sprung in the middle. That's all. That's 3 arms. Because your dick is just an arm that has, semen deep in the back of it. And we, when you hear that a teacher have 3 breasts, you're excited about it. You're fired up. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, I'm Nicolas Cage in, A Time to Kill or whatever, art history or something, where they're finding the treasure. And so you're curious. But I was so desperate for that female affection. Well, I'd be up there. They have a 75-year-old teacher. Miss Rapp, or I think we had a lady, Miss Rapp, or one lady, I think Miss Fart was her name. Phart. And she wanted us to, respect the name. And I'm like, oh, we are 12 years old. Ms. Fart. So, but I thought she was fine as fuck. My buddies would be like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not here, I'd be writing love letters in the dirt in the schoolyard. And she'd walk up, Miss Fart would just kind of blow on up through the breeze and just, what's going on here? And I'd like rub it all off my foot and just, erase all the message on my foot. Oh, nothing. Oh, nothing, Miss Fart. Just, just looking for treasure, or something. Just writing a message for help in case a plane goes by, just practicing in case I'm ever like in a avalanche or something. I'll do stuff like that, but I loved any of the teachers, man. Busted looking. All of them. All of them. I loved all of them, man. I just had that affection. But we didn't have that hot teacher. What do you think it is out there in the universe today that's making these hot teachers send the pictures to the children? Like that's a question I have, and I'd love for you guys to hit the hotline 985-664-9503 and let me, what is it? Is it that these women, they still want to be young? Because this used to be a male thing that was happening. We had a teacher, he got popped, everybody did. Remember about 20 years ago, every school had a dude that got popped, a janitor, every assistant coach. If you were assistant coach, dude, you was touching somebody's ass and you got busted. They didn't, these dudes was all perverts. We had a whole, they had, everybody had these perverts running the shows back then. But I wonder if now that women are becoming more like men in some places, or feeling pressured more to behave like men, if they're doing that, if they're like engaging with the young boys, if it's a power thing, or are the boys feeling more motivated and they're starting this? And the women are just unable to reject some of these shy of young advances. Because some of these young dudes, they, 14 years old, they got a little bit of slickner in their hair, and they got a little bit of, they putting cologne in their hair in the back, and they doing, they'll have a buddy, they might not smoke, but they might have a friend, blow a little bit of mild brow smoke on them. And that smoke, if you go by a lady and they smell that smoke on a child, they think, oh, he's been in a fire, or he's kind of sexy. Because, dude, you put a little bit of mild brow smoke on a 14, 15-year-old, bro, come on. I mean, that's going to really, that temptation factor goes up. But what do you think it is? What do you guys think's going on in the world that this kind of stuff is happening? Now, I know the news is just reporting it more. And I know the news, especially if it's a white kind of thing going on, if it's a white teacher, white student, then they're definitely reporting that. Because I strongly believe that the media has some severe issues, wants to make white people look the worst. Even though most of the media is owned by white people. So it's a really tricky deal going on. And I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong about that, but sometimes I do feel that way. But what do you think's going on? Why is that happening? Why is that happening, man? Because if I'm sitting in class and a hot teacher, look, man, if I'm a kid, the first thing I'm going to want to do is hook up with her. I'm also then probably going to be scared. I might be scared because you might think, well, what if she gets pregnant? What's going on? She has a family. And you're going to tell your friends. If you're 15 years old and you got pictures of the teacher's tots, you showing those to the friends. That's going to happen first thing. I ain't trading baseball cards, you know what I'm saying? I got a picture of Miss Fart's tats, bruh. I got a picture of Miss Fart's tarts. You feel me? But I wonder what it is, man. If you have some thoughts, hit the hotline on why that's happening so much now. Is there something going on in the world? Is it just a, free-for-all? 985-664-9503. One other news thing that happened, Nick Cannon came to the aid of Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart got reprimanded. He got asked to MC one of these award shows that, it's, they give awards to, it's companies that give awards to actors that they own, basically, a lot of times. So you'll see, it's like, oh, the Academy, but it's all tied in together and it's all owned by the same companies or supported by the same company. So it's all a bunch of bullshit a lot of times. It's a lot of rich people awarding other rich people, I find. But I also could be angry because they've never given me nothing. But now Kevin Hart, what he did was he got asked to host this awards, Oscars, and then they went through his tweets and said, well, he said homophobic stuff in the past, and now he needs to apologize for it. And he told him to fuck off, basically. He did, but then he did apologize, but also told him to fuck off, that he didn't want to do it. And I commend him. I commend him for that. I don't think if 5 or 6 people on Twitter get angry about something, then that should justify everyone. And the more that kind of stuff keeps happening and that the media really caters to those small voices just to create controversy, the more you're making the masses angry, I think, because their voices aren't heard. Not only not heard, but not respected. And so Nick Cannon came to his aid and made fun of other, retweeted old things that other people had tweeted in the past, called out Amy Schumer, Sarah Silverman, and Chelsea Handler, 3 Jewish comedians that were, I guess, have been allowed to host shows, even though that they called people fags in past tweets. And good for him, man. Good for somebody to be able to say something. I think you need a black guy to say something. I think if a white guy brings this up, they wouldn't even let this be an article. So I'm happy that, that people are standing up for their friends in the industry. And that finally people are saying, oh, well, it's interesting that these 3 white women can behave a certain way, but this man doesn't have some of the same freedoms. So good for Kevin, good for Kevin, man. It's not fair that, you have a lot of these, and all 3 of these women condescending, these are all women who, to me, make fun of the rest of America and look down upon those people who are less fortunate than them and believe they can tell people how to vote and how to behave just because they have money. A lot of extreme white privilege with these women. So good for them. Good for those guys standing up against basically what's not, you want equality, you got to treat people equal. And fuck these boring ass Oscar. Who gives a shit? Half the movies they pick always suck dick anyway. Dunkirk's the only good movie I've seen in the past 5 years. But anyhow, that's just my thoughts, and I could be totally wrong. But let's get into some calls, man. First, I also want to tell you, if you own a business or if you are thinking about starting one, this course is 100% absolutely for you. It's the Smart Setup Guide, Business Building 101. And the gentleman there's a gentleman named Martin O'Neill who helps me out with a lot of our stuff here at this past weekend. And he has now a course. It's easy to understand. It's easy to implement online video course that breaks down need to know information that will save you massive amounts of time, money, and energy building your business. And I cannot support this guy enough. The way he has it set up, it's acute, it's effective. If you want to take a business you currently have and get it to the next level online and have it become profitable, this is how you do it. Or if you have a family member, they're starting a small business, this course will be great for them. In just 2.5 hours, you will develop a pro-level understanding of how logo design and brand identity can make or break your business, the best way to build your website and online store, how to outrank your competition on Google, social media marketing, how to secure new clients and maintain them long term. The course is created by Marty O'Neill, owner of Drastic Graphics, who has over a decade's worth of experience working with some of the biggest brands and performers in the world. For the month of December, you can get a 30% discount. Visit smartsetupguide.com and use coupon code Theo at checkout. That is smartsetupguide.com and use coupon code Theo, Theo, at checkout. And the Smart Setup Guide, Business Building 101, it's effective. This is a real thing. It's definitely effective. And Martin cares. He cares about helping young people. He's straight out of Buffalo, hardworking dude, 700% Irish. He cares about helping young people achieve their next step, and this is a way to do it. So check that out. As well, Skillshare is an online learning platform with over 20,000 classes in business, design, technology, and more. You can take classes in social media marketing, data science, mobile photography, creative writing, you name it. Some of the classes that this past weekend listeners have signed up for include how to make Android apps with no programming experience, say hello to After Effects, and trap music production. Whether you're trying to deepen your professional skill set, start a side hustle, or just explore a new passion, Skillshare is there to keep you learning and thriving. Get 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents. That's right, Skillshare is offering this past weekend listeners 2 months of unlimited access to over 20,000 classes for just 99 cents. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/Theo. Again, go to Skillshare.com/Theo to start your 2 months now. That's Skillshare.com/Theo. And Skillshare has been a great supporter. And man, if you want specific things, you want to go there, I want to learn this. And I want to learn that because I need that education. Because when I look inside of myself, I'm missing elements. I'm juggling balls, but I don't have no balls. Well, you can go get your balls. You can go get your ideas. You can go get your facts and your specific information at Skillshare.com/Theo. All right. We had a lot of calls that came into this past weekend, this past episode, and I want to get to some of those right now. Thank you guys. As always, the hotline is 985-664-9503. I would love to know your thoughts on, what do you think that is that, female teachers, that we're seeing more of that these days? And why? What is that? Is that, is there something bigger going on, like at a macro level that we, or is it just a little bit of straight perving, and now we have technology and, and the times are changing? Let me know what you think. Here's a couple calls that came in. Here we go. Thank you very much for calling.
Hey, Theo. My name is Luke.
Thank you for calling, Luke. Onward.
Just listening to your podcast, telling your story, man. Wanted to call in and tell you I'm an alcoholic. Been on the sober train for about 2 years now.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for calling. And congratulations on 2 years on the sober train. All aboard, bruh. This the Polar Express. It's cold as fuck on this bitch sometimes. But a lot of times it's very warm. Onward.
Little good advice I got from my sponsor early on. Started going to the gym about the same time I started going to AA. And I got some complaints talking about telling him, man, I don't like coming to these meetings. I don't feel like these people in here are doing it the right way. Yada, yada, yada. And he told me, he said, man, AA is just like the gym. Everybody in there ain't doing it the right way. Hell, you might not even be doing it the right way. But I came to figure out it was a good place for me to go. I wound up being better when I went. And that's all that mattered, man. So anyway, 2 years sober, about 60 pounds down in 2 years. So that's good, for the Mattress Olympics. A little bit better at that.
Dang, there you go, boy. Woo, cool hand Luke. Warm dick Luke. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for making me laugh right there. A little more, onward.
Anyway, one question. I heard Rogan one time talking about how the best comics that's ever lived are pretty scarred on the inside. If you could go back and change and just have a normal life, but that meant it would fuck up your ability to be a great comedian, would you make that exchange? I would hope you wouldn't, but I didn't live through all that, so I just wondered how you felt about that. So, anyway, gang, gang, you beautiful kuyan.
Gang, gang, brother. Merry Christmas to you, man. I appreciate the warm sentiment. And congratulations, man. You're right. It's like you keep going to this program, and no matter what, I just keep going. Last night I didn't want to go. When I got home, I didn't want to do anything, but I rolled over and checked out a meeting down the street. Would I trade, I think for a long time I probably would have, I think now, it's so funny. The other night I'm telling a story on stage about my brother and I being kids. And my brother and I do not have a lot of fun memories from being children together. We don't have memories of, playing together or enjoying each other's company that much. And it's sad, kind of. It's a little sad. It's okay. It's sad. I'm not getting into a dark, an emo hole here. But one thing I'm noticing now when I'm telling stories on stage, it's like I get to recreate. It's like I get to make something fun out of something that wasn't fun a long time ago. So it's almost like I get to reshape it now. And it's kind of cool for me because I know when my brother sees some of these materials and sees me do some of these new stories, inside of him, it's going to start to fill in a place in him where he, maybe that he feels, sadness or regret because we didn't have we didn't have a warm time. We didn't have a connection. So I feel grateful, that there's something inside of me that makes me able to fashion a story or something in enough of a fun way that it can be like a cement or like a caulk, C-A-U-L-K. And caulk, some people, you say caulk and have, a couple ladies will open their mouths up, and even one dude over there, who's working at the smoothie shop. But I'm saying caulk, something for carpenters. But, it's that these stories now can almost, it's like it goes back in and fills it in a little bit. It's like I can kind of not recreate it, but just make it in a way where it's a little more fun. But I know that a lot of my family has struggled. If going back in time meant that it would make things easier for some of them, then yeah, I would give up. I would give up the fun that I have sometimes with some of the success that's happened, especially this year. Because it makes me, because then it's not just me, it's other people. If adjusting me would help them, then it would be hard for me to probably say no. But I appreciate you calling, man. I appreciate you thinking about it, and I just hope that staying sober has kept me in a place where I'm able to create better. And that in its own way has been helping me reshape and make a joy out of the past. So, but I'm grateful for your calling, man, and congratulations again, man. And good luck at the Mattress Olympics, dude. You know what I'm saying? That decathlon's a real sport. You found me? Gang. All right, let's take another call. Here we go.
Mr. Rat King. My name is Paulo. I've been clean off that sweet heroin for 18 years, and I really enjoy listening to your podcast.
Wow, thank you for calling, Paul. 18 years, man, that's incredible, dude. Jesus, that's a young adult. That's 18 years you've been clean. You've been clean off of heroin for a young adult. Say, find any 18-year-old, Marcus or, we had a black kid in our town, his name, Janitor Johnson. How in the fuck you gonna have a kid named him Janitor? But, they call him JJ, but that's Janitor Johnson. You got to give, at least call him something, Airline Pilot Johnson, or give the dude a little bit of chance. But anyway, yeah, so you're older than, you got the sobriety of you got an adult. You have a sober adult living inside you, an 18-year-old. Anyway, onward.
Enjoy listening to you talk about your ordeals with cocaine and all that. But I do got to say, you got to look into that tradition 11 where it talks about keeping anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. You got to find some way to talk about your recovery adventures without specifically naming AA or meetings or something. I was listening. You mentioned that you like to break the rules and stuff. But the thing is, though, this isn't it's not like you're at school and the teacher's telling you not to do something and you're being cool and rebellious by breaking the rules. The problem is that this is your program and your fellowship, and those traditions are there so that the fellowship survives.
Thank you for calling, man, and I appreciate you bringing this point up. And he's saying there's a tradition that says there's a tradition that says that, not you're supposed to, but the tradition says you're supposed to protect the anonymity of the program at press, radio, and film. So that is what he is referencing. And what is he's referencing that I am struggling to do here. Onward.
Because the problem with it is, if all these people listen to you, they get inspired, and they come to associate you with what recovery is, and they need recovery, let's say, and then it doesn't work out for you, you relapse or whatever, then they decide, well, recovery doesn't work because it didn't work for Theo.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. And it's funny you say this because I was just thinking about this the other day. I was just thinking about, after I was telling that story this week, I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't have told it. I was feeling, just because, for that same reason, if people, if I don't stay in this program and then people look at the program and say it doesn't work. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, man. It is a good point, man. And it has been hard. I think my motivation to talk about it was because I talk about being sober, but I don't, I guess I wanted my listeners to know, or I wanted, the group here to know more why. Why I do that. Why I feel like I need to, or why the program or getting into sobriety helped for me. But you're right, man. I should have done it and not mention the program's name. And I think that that's something that I can do a better job of. I feel a little bit selfish, I guess, even though I don't feel like my motivations came from a selfish place. But I do appreciate you bringing that up. Onward.
And so you put people at danger. You put people in danger is the problem. It sounded like maybe you're just going to meetings but not doing steps with a sponsor. I'm not sure, but you talked a lot about meetings, but you didn't mention anything about steps. So, but if that's the case, you're, well, I don't want to tell you what to do, but you're not really you're not really doing the program if you're not doing the steps. So maybe look into that.
Well, that's a good point. The program, step work is the program. So yeah, if I'm not doing the steps, I'm not doing the steps. And that's true. I mean, I've gotten through, I've gotten up some of the steps a few times, man, but haven't gotten to the stoop, but I hope to. And, I work with different sponsors and I've recently, started working with a new guy. So we'll see. But I think that you're right in the sense that I could find other ways to talk about it. And I appreciate you bringing that point up because, that program is a million times bigger than any one of us. And I probably could find better ways to be more respectful of that. But thank you for bringing that up. But if you were in a program and you haven't gotten through the steps, that doesn't mean that you can't still keep going back to the program. And you can still be sober and not have gotten through your step work. And I'm not saying that for myself. I'm just saying that in case there's anybody out there that needs to hear it. I'm a slow learner, and something about me doesn't want to sometimes, I don't want to do stuff sometimes. I don't want to do what other people want me to do. But hopefully some of that, I'll just continue to learn as I go, But thanks for calling, brother. Onward. Let's take another call.
Hey, bro. This is Eddie from Lancaster.
Eddie from Lancaster. Lancaster, Pennsylvania where's that outside of, I don't know. I think that's Amish country. And they got a show now, Breaking Amish. And Hollywood's trying to fucking break up the Amish, bro. Get a fucking life. The Oscars, bro. Who gives a fuck, dude? I'd rather watch UFC fucking reruns. Onward.
PA, not California. Fuck that. But anyway, I heard dude Greg called in last show. I just want to say congratulations on 1 year sobriety. That's tremendous. That's fucking awesome. And then Theo, you were saying you said a couple times people telling you that you shouldn't talk about sobriety in a public forum or whatever. Man, fuck that, dude. Every other podcast is basically celebrities talking about all the shit they drank, how cool it is to smoke weed and do, there's not a lot of entertainment or support out there for guys trying to get on the wagon. So I think you should keep it up, dude. I think you are a fantastic voice for a lot of young men, especially because you got that charisma. You're kind of alpha and shit. And I think a lot of tough guys out here need sort of permission to be honest with themselves about, everything, all the kind of stuff you talk about. So keep it up, man. I love the show. And Greg, congratulations, man. That's tremendous. And get that hitter, please.
Get that hitter. Get that hitter. Get in there. Dude, well, thanks for calling. I think that as you're talking, man, I'm thinking that I think the main goal in talking about the sobriety and being sober was because I wanted people to know how I felt. What made me get into being sober was how I felt, man. It wasn't about drugs and alcohol, but it was how I felt. And at some point I found myself using some drugs because I didn't have any way to feel. I wasn't feeling anything anymore that was good. And so when I would use drugs, it made me feel something. And so my main goal was really to iterate more how I was feeling. And maybe I shouldn't have focused on the program that much. I don't want this to become a show about sobriety, about that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of different facets and worlds to my life. But I think, your call and the previous caller, it's like I do want to share, and I also could have probably been more respectful of the program as I did it. But I think in the end, I just wanted, if there's other dudes, young men out there, even women or lesbians, bruh. They got, how many lesbians hit me up on the low trying to get these haircut tips, man? A fantastical, just a real fantastical amount. But I don't want there to be young men out there who are feeling certain ways and don't know what's going on. I don't want those people to feel alone. And if I can not help, man, I'm not trying to be any kind of damn Sherpa, but I'm just trying to share some of what's going on with me or what was going on with me and what is sometimes, because sometimes I hear people share and it helps me see what's going on with myself. But thank you for your call, man. And I'm going to try to do it when I can, and in ways that are probably more respectful. And also, I probably needed to hear that young man, the previous caller, tell me to get into my step work, man. So onward. Let's take another call. Here we go. 985-664-9503.
Theo, hello. This is Shannon Schubert.
Hey, Shannon Schubert. And Schubert sound like an ice cream. You know it, boy. Mm-hmm. Dang, get a couple scoops of Shannon. You know what I'm saying? Onward.
I had called a couple of days ago because I was so upset because your New Orleans show was sold out. Well, never say never, or don't take no for an answer is my message, because guess what? I'm so excited. I contacted the House of Blues, and I did this for you, just so I could go see you, me and my son. I bought a damn membership to the House of Blues. Don't know if I ever go back, but you never know. Anyway, so I bought a membership, and I've got 2 tickets to come see you. Woo! I'm so excited. I cannot wait. So I hope after the show that we get to meet you and take a picture with you. Anyway, I just wanted to call and let you know. Look forward to seeing you in New Orleans.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. I'm excited that you, that's a great call. I appreciate that. It made me feel good. You know what made me feel good? Because towards the end, I could tell how excited you were. And man, that made me feel good. I'm glad that you guys are coming. And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. My family's coming. Not my mother, but my brother's coming out. My sister, her husband. My boy Dustin Poirier is supposed to be coming, dude. One of the next UFC champs. Who else, dude? Some of the guys from Bishop Gun are coming down. We're gonna do a little after party right there in the foundation room, right next door. My buddy DJ Satchfield, one of my best friends from growing up. He's a newscaster turned DJ. That's the dark arts. You know it. And he's gonna be there. And yeah, I want people to come do your drinking afterwards. You can have a drink before, but just don't get, let's don't make it too rowdy during the show. I want people to enjoy the experience, and then we'll have fun afterwards. And, but I'm grateful that you're coming. You know what's funny? You remind me. Sorry, sometimes I get so amped up. You remind me they had I joined an alumni association one time when I was at UCLA. And when I was and I wasn't there as a student, I went to the gym. But to get a gym membership, you had to join the alumni association. An alumni association, it sounds like some kind of Ku Klux Klan shit, but it's not. It's just like a group of old people that really like to drink outside of the stadium. But anyhow, I had to join that, and when I joined it, I got a membership to the gym at UCLA, so I could use the gym down the street. The thing was this, if I had to do one event for them. So I chose this Special Olympic type of deal. So I'm there helping out one day, the Wooden Center on UCLA campus, and they got, and this, I was dabbling a little bit in the dark arts at the time. You might, if you tickled me hard enough in the front of my nose, a little bit of coke might fall out of it. And they had a dude in the bathroom. He's going in there. I've been talking to him at the event. Found out we both like to party. Next thing you know, we're in the bathroom. It's probably 4:30 in the afternoon, doing a little bit of, of coke, cocaine. And it's crazy, man, when you're doing, you're in one of the big handicap stalls with an actual handicapped person. This dude was in a wheelchair. He was in a wheelchair and we're in there doing coke and shit. And I started to feel a little bit bad, because he's in a wheelchair and I'm not. And anyway, other people were in the bathroom and the shit got a little bit weird. And so he went out of the stall and I didn't know what to do. I'm still in the stall and people in the bathroom know I'm in there. And they're like, well, what in the fuck's going on? And I didn't know what to do. So I end up just sitting down on the ground. And like when I opened the stall door and kind of drug myself on the ground out of the stall and out the door into the hallway. And I was just fucked up at that point. And I'd done this kind of shit before. I got stuck in a house with a lady who didn't have any, she only had 2 appendages, her arms. She didn't have all 4 appendages. And I got stuck in a house with that lady. And I guess I just felt nervous. And so I kind of drug myself out on the floor because I didn't want to, I felt like I was showing off, with my legs. But anyway, I joined an alumni association one time to get a gym membership is what I'm trying to tell you. So thank you so much. Let's take another call. Onward.
Hey, Theo, this is Zach. I caught your show in D.C. last Saturday, The Late Show. Great fucking show. Just want to say thanks for coming to D.C.
Thanks for coming out to the show, Zach. Yeah, that was fun over there in D.C., man. That was wild. We did it fast and we did it right.
Yeah, I live in rural Virginia outside of Charlottesville, so it's a little bit of a drive. I'm not a huge fan of the district, but come to see you, though. And I just want to say it was awesome how you stuck around, met people, took pictures and shit. I thought that was really pretty awesome. You might even remember me. I think I did tell you that I was a PI. I listen to your podcast all the time because I'm in a car doing surveillance, driving all over Virginia.
Oh, yeah, you're a PI. I remember you. Dude, and I remember being young, they had, we had a dude, a PI, first of all, when you hear it, I remember being young, you hear private investigator. You think, oh, it's an animal. You think, oh, it's a gynecologist. Those are the first 2 things I think. But then we had a dude in the woods, this guy, Detective Mike, and everybody said that he was private investigator. Well, turned out he's just fucking homeless, bro. He's peeping Tom. And they used to have a lot more peeping Toms. You'd see him, comparing notes and fucking, sharing ladders and all of that kind of stuff sometime, down behind the AMP Superstore, down there off Jackson Avenue. But this was, a time when it was more popular, when people weren't doing as much social media. So peeping Tom was a good way to, see who's hot in the area. It was kind of like Tinder, but you had to have a ladder. And this man was in the woods all the time, and we're like, oh, dude. He's like, yeah, I'm a detective. I'm doing surveillance. Well, for fucking months, we think he's doing surveillance and shit, and turns out he's just a fucking homeless dude living in the woods, man. This dude, Detective Mike. And I guess I can quit calling him detective because he wasn't. He was shooting dope. All right, let's take another call. Onward.
Theo, first-time caller. Becoming a big fan over the past year. I love the podcast. I finished the Donna Rollins episode.
Oh yeah, Donnell Rowlands. And Donnell, man, the funniest guy that I've ever seen or just talked to. Or even, dude, Donnell is so funny. He's so funny. Onward.
And it was really refreshing the way that the conversation involving culture and race was framed. You didn't really tiptoe around anything. He dropped some cold knowledge, especially about ignorance, breeding, racism, the difference between the two. And I just want to say, you expressed thoughts and feelings I had. I was the only white kid in my grade in 6th or 7th grade. I went through that phase. And, you know, there's a difference between being aware and being discriminatory, and the fact that you're willing to admit that you have these questions, whereas other people might just bury it for fear of seeming like something they're not, just meant a lot to me. And I just want to say, love the show. You motivate me. You want help keep my spirits high. And maybe one day I'll get to get a lick out of old Cinnamon Mike's palm if I'm just lucky enough.
Dude, and I'll say this, man, and that man was a friend of my dad's and he passed, but I want to say that cinnamon was, he made it at the house. And that man, he put a little cinnamon on his palm, and he had the palm, warmest palm too. I mean, he'd probably running a fever a little bit, but when you licked that cinnamon off, it was like having just a damn warm bun out the oven. But thank you for the call, man. And Donnell Rollins, you know, people say sometimes we don't have enough diverse episode. I've reached out to some of my favorite black artists, and a lot of them do not want to come on, or have just said, "Oh, I'm coming," and never fucking called back. You know, so you know, we've definitely made an effort, and I think we do have some diversity on here. I think we've done pretty good, and I don't like a lot of too much forced diversity, unless we're talking Mexican people in the NBA. How are you going to have half your fan base and is Mexican, and you don't have any? You got fucking 0 Mexicans in the NBA. You tell me you don't want to watch a 5'2" dude named Papa shoot it from half court every day, wearing a pair of fucking Dockers, bruh? Come on. But I think there's a lot of race stuff that's not talked about. I know I chime in about it a lot here and there. It was nice to have Donnell come on, because then you can talk about it with somebody. You know, I loved hearing him say that, you know, no more excuses, you know, because everybody needs to hear that message. You know, there's a lot of, like excuse stuff in America. There's a lot of excuse, especially the media. But the media doesn't help, man. The mainstream, the news, fuck them, bruh. They don't want the bad. I don't care what network you're watching. Fox, CNN. They don't want they're selling you what they think you want to see every time. You got to remember some of that. So I think, you know, I'm fortunate to have conversations with people that's that's different than me, but who are also, you know, smart and willing to discuss stuff. And I thought there were times where I wish I was been a little bit braver to share some of my real thoughts and fears. You know, it's, you know, I don't get to say a lot of times, like I get scared. A lot of black people scare me. You know, because I had bad experiences growing up, getting beat up and threatened by black people constantly. And I don't get to say that. You know, it's like if you say that, it's instead of, and I don't say it from a place where like I want something bad to happen to them, but I do say it from a place where it's like, I know that other people feel this way or have had a similar experience. And why is that never discussed? You know, the mainstream a lot of times just wants to make white people look bad, especially poor white people. And I don't think they're doing a service to anybody by doing that. And I think that black people definitely need more opportunity. You know, in America, they need to be granted more opportunity. You have to give them opportunity for them to experience opportunity. But at the same time, I think a lot of black people rest on not wanting to. There's a lot of excuse culture that's been embedded in the black culture over time, you know, and in a lot of culture, I think we all need to point fingers at ourselves. And so those, I guess, are some of my thoughts. But beige power, man. I think the future's beige, and that's where we're going to end up. So we need to try and get there as happily as we can. And I love being able to talk with people like Donnell because, you know, he knows, and I know both of us, we know that each other have good hearts, and that we're imperfect, and that we can be wrong about stuff. You know, we can be wrong about stuff. I wish that in a way we could all learn to be wrong about stuff together. I think that would help all of us. And also, what the fuck do I know, man? What the fuck do I know? It's just my perspective of the world. There's billions of perspectives. There's 350 million perspectives of America in America alone. So onward.
Hey, Theo, this is Pat from North Carolina.
But thanks for calling, brother. I appreciate your calling. I appreciate your sentiment, and I appreciate you listening. And, I'm never going to get anything right in this podcast, this conversation. There's nothing to get right. I'm just trying to be alive and be okay. Onward.
I just listened to your Monday podcast with you talking about your parents and not feeling loved, and I just want to give some insight. So there's this concept called attachment theory, and it's all about how we trust and bond with others. The way you learn to bond with others as a child will influence how we bond with others as an adult. And young kids who learn to trust caretakers they basically form a secure attachment. And if they don't, they form this thing called an insecure attachment.
Wow, that's interesting. I just looked it up. Attachment theory states that a strong emotional and physical attachment to at least one primary caregiver is critical to personal development. John Bowlby, I'm guessing named after the bowels, first coined the term as a result of his studies involving the development psychology of children from various backgrounds. That's interesting. A strong emotional and physical attachment to at least one primary caregiver is critical to personal development. I mean, I could believe that. Let's hear more from you. Thank you so much for calling, brother.
I suggest Googling it, checking it out. But basically, insecure attachments can lead us to do some wild things in a relationship, have trust issues, be clingy, whatever.
Damn, brothers. Dude, I remember one time, when I was young, I was in love with a girl. And man, she looked like a damn exotic just a damn. She looked like, remember that show Fire and Ice or whatever? No, what was it called? American Ninja Warriors. The original one. No, American Gladiators. And they had men and women on there, and they all looked like lesbians that were really on steroids or on Deca 30 or whatever. Or D-Ball 9000, They had motherfuckers, they'd be on there crying and just having Test 200 just dripping out of their eye sockets. They were on all types of uppers and, steroids. And that show, American Gladiators, all the boys and girls all looked the same. They did so much steroids that they just had blonde hair. And then I think, and their tits turned into muscles and they all moved to Florida. But I dated a girl in high school and college that was just stunning. And she looked real hot and pretty and awesome and good heart and big heart and, nice skin and nice hair and nice face, nice neck. I mean, she had a neck, bruh. She had a neck. I mean, they'd have, sometimes you'd even hear giraffes, 2 countries over fucking, you could hear them kind of leaning over, listening to what she was up to because she had that type of neck. Beautiful, that beautiful top fucking piece. That 5th appendage, boy. That neck. And she, what was I talking about? Fuck, I don't know, man. But I'll say this, dude, that, yeah, when we broke up, man, I remember driving across the country and, hiding on her porch and petting somebody's cat that I didn't know. And so I definitely had some real attachment issues, Onward.
So check out this article by Psychology Today called How Your Attachment Style Impacts Your Relationships. Check it out and let me know what you think.
You got it, brother. Will do, man. And we'll put that link. Let's listen to the end of it one more time.
Your attachment style impacts your relationships.
How your attachment style impacts your relationships. Will do. We'll put the link to that at the top of the episode links in YouTube. But thank you so much, man. That attachment theory. I think I really have had some attachment issues. Onward.
Hey, Theo. This is Alex from LA. I just want to play devil's advocate after your Ron White conversation about mushrooms. You do have to remind some people that, drugs can still be dangerous. I did shrooms for the first time and, I thought it was amazing. And it was amazing. It was mind-blowing, life-changing. Started started doing it a little bit more. My third time around, we put in Jungle Book, the new one. And if you're on shrooms, you know, those fucking animals, you know, they're real. They're real for sure. And the snake, Ka, he like does that whole hypnosis thing, and he spun me out, and I had like a full seizure, threw up, everything like that. When I came to, my girlfriend, she was on the phone with the 911. She said she saw me die. Not she thought I died, but she saw me die.
Well, look, it sounds like your girlfriend's into some damn sorcery and shit if she's seeing you die and you're not dead. You know what I'm saying? That's like I'm not saying it's a bad relationship, but no matter what, I want a woman who sees me alive. No matter what. You know, even if she, you know, I want even if I'm at the funeral, I want her to secretly know that I'm laying over there in a box, you know, smoking a Juul or something, a creme brulee, you know, Juul cartridge. Here's what I'm saying to that. Yeah, you might spin out. You're on mushrooms, brother. Okay? You're on mushrooms, man. That's the Lord's brain diuretic. That shit'll make you leak out the back a little of your brain. You know, it kind of defrosts your brain and takes all the icicles out of you. You know, and just lets your meats cool naturally inside of your head. And if you're looking at electric snakes, fuck yeah, dude. What do you expect? You out there, you know, you out there on the Lord's caviar, that mushrooms, bruh. That snail butt or whatever it is, the Lord's caviar. And you fucking, you getting electric, watching electric snakes. And Jungle Book is a book. And you taking it in as a film, man. You know? So out of the gate, you're doing a lot of stuff. You're doing a lot of different types of stuff. That seems unnatural. So yeah, I think mushrooms can be good for people because here's what I've noticed from mushrooms. And I'm not on mushrooms, but here's what I've noticed from mushrooms is they, you know, they a lot of times can, say if your head is like a internet and you have a bunch of browsers open you didn't know about. It's like when you're looking at pornography, which I am 20 days clean of right now, boy. Bang, bang. So damn, boy, sometimes, you know, I'm feeling lively. I'm starting to notice more eroticism in the air. You know, they got these nipples you can get off the internet. You can put them on your butt, one on each butt cheek, and you can feel your own butt and pretend it's tits. And so the future is now. That's what I'm saying. Who knows what's next? Space travel? Who knows? When you got when you got titties in your pants, bro, that are your own. So it's your move, ladies. Because we're making moves ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Your move, ladies. But you got to be careful, man. You can't be doing. If you're looking at electric snakes and you're spinning out, then that's. If you're looking at something called Jungle Book and it's a movie, then you're making choices you shouldn't be making, man. I'm thinking. Also, what the fuck do I know, bro? Onward.
Hey, Theo. It is Michael from Columbus, Ohio.
Hey, Michael. Thank you for calling, man. I'll be there at the end of February 6th and 7th, I think. And I'm looking forward to it. Onward.
The reason I'm calling is that for weeks and weeks now, something that you said to Jordan Peterson has been like rattling around in my head. And it's when you told him about how you and your mom had never laughed together. And I don't know. I've just been thinking about that for so long I figured I should just call and tell you what I was thinking.
Well, thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Yeah, I felt pretty honored to interview Mr. Jordan Peterson because he's, just so smart. Onward.
Basically, that it's not too late, and I had an idea for you. Maybe you could use this podcast as a way to sit down with her, like you sit down with comics and all these other people for an interview with them to talk. Why don't you bring the microphones back home for the holidays and just for fun, see if you could sit down with her and record, an hour with her, you guys just talking and shooting the breeze, reminiscing about old times. Maybe something good will come of it. I think it'd be great to do that with your brother too. I think people would love to hear it. But, if you record it and you decide you don't want to put it out, I think that would be fine too, but it might be a fun experiment for you. Anyway, I know you're coming to Columbus. Can't wait to see you, and wish you all the best.
Man, thank you. That's a sweet message. You know, and I thought about that. I think I would like to have my mother come in here and come on the podcast at some point. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm in a place where I feel comfortable with that. And then I would have to make sure that my mother feels okay, comfortable with that. And I appreciate your sentiment, you know, because I think you're coming from a place where, yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that either till I said it, that my mother and I have never laughed together, you know, and I didn't realize that until I'd said it, you know. So, you know, it's just crazy, man. This has been such a learning. Man, I thought I was done learning when I was a kid, you know. But thank you. And I have thought about having my brother on, and I can't decide. Maybe we'll do something in Baton Rouge. I won't see my mother during the holidays because she moved out to Arizona again. But at some point, and those are things that are in my mind that I would like to have them on. And also, I think about guests. I just want to have guests on that, like, you know, people email me a lot about having just regular people on and stuff like that. And so I want to experiment with some of that in the new year. You know, I want to do, I want to try some new stuff. So I appreciate you guys being here. And as always, give me your honest feedback, man. You can put it on the YouTube. You know, I don't read that. But sometimes I will dip in there to the first few things in comment or something to see if anybody's having a tough time or, but our producer does. And so if you have constructive criticisms, as always, you can leave those. Thank you so much. Let's take one more call. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? It's Chris calling from Jersey. I just want to say I'm a pretty big fan. I enjoy your podcast. I enjoy what you're doing. I think you're one of the most funniest motherfuckers out here. Just wanted to say I got a little issue going on.
Thank you, Chris, for the nice words, man. You know, I don't think I'm a good podcaster, but I think that I do think that I am a good comedian. You know? And I say that just because I've done it for so long, and I really, you know, I know that I want to bring something to you that you paid for that is a good product. And that's why I get act out. You know, I act out if people are being wild in the crowd because there's too much work has gone into making it a fun evening, you know, and making it a time that's enjoyable. Onward.
Me and my ex-girlfriend are going to go on a date. She said multiple times that there's no chance of us getting back together.
You might want to read up attachment theory, dude. Onward.
So I'm trying to get rid of that thought in my head of it ever happening. So I'm just curious if us going on a date or, you know, just hanging out or trying to be friends is beneficial at all, or do you think just going cold turkey is the best way? But again, Theo, appreciate everything, man. You're a true comedian. You're hilarious, and just keep up the good work, man. Come out to the East Coast one of these days, bro. I'll definitely pull up, show some love.
Gang, gang, brother. Thank you for that, dude. Gang, gang. Yeah, the thing is this. If you go with the next man, dude, my ex that I rode out there, you know, I tracked this girl down to South Carolina. Dude, I remember one time I jumped out of we ate some mushrooms and went to see String Cheese or somebody. I jumped out of a moving vehicle to see her in Tuscaloosa, you know, and I wasn't a stunt person. I was just a fucking, you know, a 24-year-old high on fucking dope. But, you know, I remember one time I stayed up all night making her a little boat of me and her, like in a little French boat out of some construction paper and marbles and shit. And it got heavy because I used too many marbles. This ended up being like about a 3-pound boat. And I took that to her and we talked, and then we got in a fight outside of the car. And she, not a physical, just a verbal altercations. And she set it on top of the car when she was leaving her while we were talking, and she drove off, and the whole fucking boat fell off the, you know, off the top of this, you know, little Corsica. She was driving a little Corsica. And, you know, and I'd spent all night doing that boat, making that little bitch with the little oars and all the French shit. And But the thing is, what I'm saying is I showed up with a lot of expectations and none of them were, it's not that she didn't respect them. It's just that she couldn't meet me there. You know, I was still in love. I was still really struggling and she couldn't be that for me. And so there was nothing that was going to come out good of that meeting. So I think you have to ask yourself, are you really ready for that? Or are you going to have a look in your eyes the whole time like you still want to get back together? Are you going to be trying to, reach through that electric fence? You know what I'm saying, bro?